call the meeting to order at 4:13. Please call the roll.
This is the meeting of the Sunshine Ordinance Task Force for the meeting of March 4th, 2020. On the call of the roll, Member Highland.
Here.
Highland present. Member Hensy.
Present.
Hensy present. Member LaHood.
Present.
LaHood present. Member Tesfa.
Present.
Tesfa present. Vice Chair Josh Wolf. Wolf absent. Member Martin.
Present.
Martin present. Member Yankee.
Present.
Yankee present. Chair Bruce Wolf.
Present.
Wolf present. We have a quorum.
Thank you. Call the next item. Oh, wait, any agenda changes, adjustments? I was going to move my report up because there are some items that might affect the meeting today. So if there's no objection to having the chair's report moved up after approval of minutes. So number 10 will become number 3, and everything will be moved down 1.
Did you make a motion?
I didn't make the motion.
Well, you make the motion.
I'm saying that I want to do that. So if somebody wants to beat me to the punch to make a motion, that's fine. Okay, so I move to move chair's report to number 3, and all items will be moved down 1 number.
I'll second that.
Is there any public comment on the adjustment to the agenda? Seeing none, can we take that by acclamation? Seeing no objection. Okay. Please call the next item.
Next on the agenda, item number 2, approval of minutes for the special meeting of the Sunshine Ordinance Task Force of January 14th, 2020, and the Sunshine Ordinance Task Force regular meeting of February 5th, 2020.
We can take them together, but if there's any corrections, adjustments,
I have
Member
a
Yankee.
correction.
Sure.
On page 13,
Of
for,
which one?
I think it's the second set of minutes.
So for the regular scheduled meeting,
Yes,
not the special meeting?
That's correct. Item number 6, which is file number 17079. The vote count's incorrect. There is 7 names for ayes, but it says 6. So if we could change that to 7.
Give me one moment. I'm trying to find that. February 5th, item number 6.
That's correct.
The vote count is incorrect. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The ayes shall be 7 and not 6.
That's all I have.
Okay. Any other changes, adjustments to the minutes? Okay, we're going to take any public comment on the minutes, any of the minutes? Okay, seeing none. Let's get a motion for both
I'll
of
move to
those.
approve.
Move
both of
for
them.
by Member Yankee. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Member LaHood. I've called for public comment already. Can we take that by acclamation with the correction? Okay. Approved. Okay, next item.
Next on the agenda is the chair's report. Item number 10, Sunshine Ordinance Task Force, chair's report.
Okay. So there, we have on the agenda just these ongoing cases, case law. I believe it was I'm not sure which one it was. DCA. Wolf, did you get in touch with DCA Thorian? Okay. There was an update for one of them that were in court yesterday, and I didn't get the full details of it.
One edit to the last item that I missed.
What's that?
On one of them, it says that I was absent, but I was present. And you can see my votes in the minutes themselves, but at the top, it says I wasn't there.
Okay.
So, I don't know
Which
if you
item?
can-
Which
the-
minutes?
February 5th.
Which item?
The last
minutes.
item.
The minutes of February 5th. it's a typo.
That would be item number 11.
Oh, so it's the item that we just voted on?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So the minutes for February 5th, it has me listed as absent, as not present. I was there, and if you look at the votes, it actually in the agenda, you see
So
my
it'd be,
votes.
test vote would be listed as present, and that'd be ayes of 8, noes of 0, and
So it's under item 1, call to order, roll call, and agenda changes, and it says member testify was not present.
item number 1.
Yes. On the February 5th agenda.
Was it because you came in after the roll call and noted present later?
Well, the roll call wasn't until 4:08, so I'm not sure, but you can see me on the vote, so. Like on item 2, there's like a vote.
That's on
Oh, I see.
February 5th.
Yeah.
Say either you were there or that you were noted present. after.
Item number 2, you are listed as absent.
Yeah, so I came in late, but it doesn't really reflect that.
Yeah, and I remember Chair Wolf saying member testify present at, so that should have gone in.
We will add a note that member Tesla was noted present
I wish I had the exact time, but I
at,
don't.
we'll list it for 16, the same as member Josh Wolf.
Okay. Thank you.
Is there a motion to make that additional amendment?
Yeah, so let's bring the item back. We'll just make a motion to amend those minutes for that
Should the
purpose.
original person do it?
No, it doesn't matter.
I make a motion to amend the minutes as stated.
Is there a second?
Just briefly, it shows you as absent on all the votes. So I don't
Yeah,
know,
I'm
do
not
They all
sure.
need to be,
They need to be edited because I was there. I came late, but barely late.
If you can let me know what changes I should make, I'm not sure what it
My
is right
request
now.
would be maybe hold us to the next agenda, or I can watch is there the recording?
can take a
Listen
look.
to the recording?
We will verify the votes for item 1 and 2, or item,
I think it has you absent on all the,
Yeah, and I'm not
items.
sure why, but I was definitely came late.
Okay, why don't we leave this item open? We can bring the corrected minutes back at the next meeting in April
okay?
and approve them then. They approve that adjustment then. Is that all right?
Okay, we will make
Can we also
the,
have someone listen to the recording as well?
we will verify.
Thank you.
In regards to this item, we have made one amendment to item 6 to make that correction, and we will continue this matter to the next meeting to review the votes on the various items.
Okay, so back to the chair's report. So those two, there was some update that that was significant and was not clear whether it was going to be taken up to a U.S. district court out of the California system. DCA Thoring thought probably not because it's based on the CPRA. So it probably will stay within the confines of California, and that'll, if anything, it may go to the California Supreme Court, but don't know yet. So I'll get an update for us all next time.
So I got a little update on that.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Apparently, it's just a.
Which case
court
is it?
decision. I don't know the name of it, but it had to do with whether a city can charge expenses for redacting electronic records. And so that's just on review right now. And the oral argument was today, apparently, but a decision will come out within 90 days.
Okay,
That's what that was. I don't know the name of the case right now.
okay, thank you. Member Yankee, AB 2093, do you have any update on that?
no update on it, but I can just give a brief summary if
Go
you
ahead.
like. It's at the end of, if you want to read the bill, it's at the end of this packet, but essentially, it adds into the CPRA requirement that electronic records, like emails, be retained for a period of 2 years. An almost identical bill made it through the legislature last year. I think it had nearly unanimous support and then was vetoed. So this looks pretty much identical to what was introduced and voted on last year, so I don't know if it has any better chance. But I thought it was worth looking at, considering supporting or whatever else, especially because we've had so many issues, I think, where someone comes in asking for a record and the answer is we don't have it because it got deleted or something, and this would actually put that record retention into the CPRA. So I think it's worthwhile to,
You think it's something that the city should support?
well, from our standpoint, yes.
Because one of our charges is in the ordinance, is for us to notify Board of Supervisors when.
I mean, I think the argument's against it, and I think if I recall from last time, there were some cities that did voice some opposition to it, and I think maybe even been the League of California Cities or whatever, saying that it would cost more for, I don't know, their IT groups to somehow archive emails for 2 years or whatever else. But I think, we've had numerous cases come before us that I think it's definitely worthwhile for us to support it or urge the city as a whole to support it.
It can't be more expensive than renting out warehouse space,
Right.
right?
What was it?
Cutting down trees.
Remember Yankee,
Hensy?
what was that bill number?
It is Assembly Bill 2093.
And who's the author? Do you know?
Assemblymember Gloria.
Odd Gloria. Okay, thank you. Some other items, just a reminder to everybody, Form 700 and the Sunshine Ordinance and Ethics Training deadline's coming up. I am having a meeting with the Ethics Commission on Friday with staff and Compliance and Amendments Committee Chair LaHood, in just clarifying what happens when a referral gets sent to them. What is it they actually need? And one of the major concerns that I had in following a case we recently referred over there was they reheard the case de novo. And so it basically re-adjudicated everything that we had done and found no violation. So that basically undoes everything we do, and it's a little not quite sure of the standing with regards to the Ethics Commission, its decisions versus our decisions. And they mostly consider what we do here as discovery in open forum, while they do discovery confidentially through their investigative department. So it's not clear, it's still not clear based upon the regulations that were amended in 2012, I think it was. And so, but the law is pretty clear as far as the ordinance is concerned, that our determinations when we find that a referral for enforcement is needed, that it's implied that it shouldn't be re-adjudicated, that the determination by the enforcement agency is to just to determine what the enforcement should be, as plain as that. They shouldn't undo everything that we've done. But by the same token, the way we make these referrals is we don't necessarily separate out the evidence of fact versus our conclusions. And in their regulations, they make a distinction between the two. So we want to at least make sure that the findings of fact are considered. And if they want to make their own conclusions beyond ours, that's how the regulations currently are written. And so the discussion tomorrow is on Friday, it's going to be to clarify that, so we're in understanding with each other and not in conflict, and to just talk further about what all that means. I'm of the mind that they should not do it in de novo, and they should do it, if they want to do it de novo, then people should just go to them directly and not come here first. Then they can adjudicate the case any way they want. Member Hinsey.
So they essentially had their own hearing and
Yeah.
did all their own discovery
Yeah.
without regard for anything.
Right, well, they took
we
our, whatever they felt was pertinent into consideration, and then did their own discovery,
Okay.
and then sent that forward to the commissioners with a recommendation. Yeah,
Okay.
member testify.
Did they use the same facts and evidence that we used, or did they have additional facts or evidence to support, to apply to the rules?
You know, there wasn't, they used pretty much the same facts and evidence, but it just seemed like they just didn't want to take any action on it. They listened to the testimony, they didn't really say anything, and they just voted to find no
Okay.
violation.
So they applied the same facts that we used, but applied them to the same law, it just came out a different way.
Yeah, it came out a different way. We just want to get clear on what their thought processes are, their process of doing this. And just to keep the line of communication open moving forward. So they're very open to doing that. I think they want to get clear with it too. We also want to make sure that they're getting, I wasn't clear that they had gotten all the information from us. And if they did, I don't know, it didn't seem clear like they had considered it in the correct order or in how it was compiled. So want to just get clear on that too. So that'll be helpful. So DCA Thoreen suggested that when we do our referrals, that I created a boilerplate to just kind of tighten up the language, but in that boilerplate to just separate findings of fact from what our order of determination is. So that way it's clear. The next item is we got a memo from our legal counsel that the memorandums that we normally get from them, that we have been getting for years, will now not be created by them. It's considered to be just background and not necessarily a legal kind of process that any staffer can do it. It doesn't necessarily require a legal opinion or background for it. I did have some conversation with DCA Thoreen yesterday about this, and the conclusion is that legal counsel should be reserved for specifically legal advice, and that advice would be protected by attorney-client privilege. Now, this is kind of somewhat of a silver lining in a way, because when the task force got created, the first legal counsel they had used to provide very explicit advice to the task force, and then over the years that stopped. And so it wasn't necessarily clear either, or transmitted, that legal advice based on attorney-client privilege could be requested. And so it was, the loss of having any of the advice was, got to say, maybe by misunderstanding or miscommunication, was certainly somewhat detrimental to the task force being able to be well-informed. Not saying it's anybody's fault, but it's just the way things have been. So this is a good opportunity for that, to ask for cases that are coming through mostly the complaint process. So through the committees, complaint committee, and through the other committees that are hearing complaints, to determine whether it is necessary to have specific legal advice for arcane legal issues, things that are not clear or understandable. None of us up here are attorneys except for one that is appointed, and
You know I'm an attorney, right?
I know you are,
But also,
no, I know, but that's not by virtue of the seat. So the SPJ, the Society of Professional Journalists, actually has a seat for a lawyer. So the fact that we have two members that are lawyers is just more advantageous. But for any iteration of the task force,
there could possibly be only one.
the only one, and everybody else is a layperson, more or less. So to have legal counsel, and the fact that we are assigned legal counsel, is we should be taking advantage of it in that way. So what happens after we get that advice is up to us, whether we want to reveal any part of it or in whole. That's the attorney-client privilege part. It's up to the client to determine that. And also with the advice of the legal advisor, because there may be something in there that should not be revealed. But that is up for discussion at the time that happens. So moving forward, we're going to have to figure out if we're going to continue with the regular memorandums, who's going to write those, how they're going to be written. Can they be done by someone who is not an attorney? And so I just wanted everybody to be aware of this, because this is a definitive change that has been handed down from the city attorney's office. And so we're going to have to kind of act pretty quickly. So if there's any discussion, any ideas you want to talk about now, would be a good time. Go ahead, Member Hensey.
Is this gonna start happening in next month's package, or?
Do you see a wolf? I think so. Okay, so yeah,
So-
this is effective immediately.
Okay, so as it stands now, then we're not gonna be getting memos.
Well,
Next
we,
month.
unless we do them ourselves, either we have our administrator do it, or we do it have the committee, actually probably have to come through the committee
Yeah.
in some way, shape, or form. Other than that, what could be done is that the committee would have to provide a brief, even just verbally, that's
Right.
pretty well clarifies what's going on with the case, with the file, when it comes up to this level. So I think every committee should have this on their agenda, and have discussion about how they think they should pull this together. I could certainly have a special meeting with all the chairs to kind of get a little brainstorming going on. But this is definitely a change, and I'm going to highly suggest that this is the end of a budget year, that we ask for some funding to hire additional staff because of this. This obviously imposes, it's kind of like a mandated, change in a way.
Was it a staff capacity issue, or
I'm sorry?
was it a staff capacity issue, or in their office, or?
I don't know what the reason that this is happening. I don't know if
Okay. I mean, I don't want to put you in a tough spot
if our legal
there,
counsel
but-
wants to say so, but is it a staffing, is it a budget issue, a staffing issue, why this is happening?
So I don't know what sort of label you want to put on it. I think it's frankly just what's the best use of the time. Is it to do real legal analysis on questions, or those memos that end up being just a lot of factual summary, which just might be helpful, but it's really not making the best use of having an attorney working with the committee. So to the extent, there are issues of what directly, like how something should be interpreted or a legal issue, I think it's much better use of the time and for the DCA assigned.
Well, we would really like that if it was real legal analysis, that is part of that memorandum. Now, if you feel that then that makes it more legal advice that should be protected under attorney-client privilege, then okay. But, I mean, just having the background of what it is, kind of tearing apart the records and making sure that the stories are straight between each party, and then coming up with some potential questions for us to think about as we're taking on the hearing. If legal analysis could be done on that and provided to us, that's exactly what we've been asking for well over a decade.
So I think the challenge with the way you phrased it is that it's not, there needs to be a specific ask of a legal question to be analyzed, not just legal analysis for the memo, because each set of facts is different. Mm-hmm. What's the ask on the legal question? And that'll come up differently for different complaints. Some might have no legal issues just because you guys know the legal issues,
right.
It's set.
Okay.
Some might present 5, but you don't know until it's been reviewed and someone actually is curious about it. So
Okay.
I think the better discussion is what should the mechanism be to create, formulate, and refer a specific legal question to the city attorney's office rather than do legal analysis for each of these. You know what I mean? I think
Okay.
that'll just be a win-win for everyone.
I hear you.
Yeah.
Okay. I wanted you to elaborate, so thank you for doing that. Yeah, Member LaHood.
Yeah, so does that mean that after we hear an item initially in committee, and if we think there's jurisdiction and we refer to the task force, if we think we have a legal question, would that be the time then to ask for advice so that we would have it in time for the full task force hearing?
Right.
Okay.
That's essentially where we're
Yeah,
at.
I think it would be helpful for there to be
That makes
some sort of either formal mechanism or routinized way for the committee or for the task force to formulate a specific question and refer it so that it's clear what's being asked, when it's needed by, and it could be at the time of the complaint committee in time so that you have an answer in time for the task force. It could be every task force meeting for the next, I don't know, but just some sort of routine. Not get overwhelmed with.
Okay, so why don't we ruminate on this through the rest of the meeting? Going to try to get through all these items as quickly as we can. Let's pick this discussion up on item number 12, under announcements, comments, questions, and whatnot. And if we have some conclusions and we figure out what we want to do, we can think about taking some action on that then, or if we need further discussion on it, we can decide what to do then. How's that sound? Okay? All right. Is there any public comment on the chair's report? Anything that was discussed on the chair's report? Okay, seeing none, there's no action on it. We can move to the next item.
Next on the agenda is item number 3. File number 19048, complaint filed by Justin Barker against the San Francisco Zoo for allegedly violating Administrative Code Section 67.21 by failing to respond to a public records request in a timely and or complete manner. Just to note, the task force did find a violation of this matter on October 7th and referred it to the Compliance Amendments Committee. The Compliance Amendments Committee heard the matter and referred it back to the task force with a recommendation to refer the matter to the Ethics Commission and the District Attorney.
Okay.
That was a fair summary. We know that the zoo did not turn over additional records that were requested, and they claimed attorney-client privilege. They did not attend the Compliance and Amendments Committee hearing, and we decided to refer it back to the full task force and recommend that we consider forwarding to the Ethics Commission and/or District Attorney's Office.
Okay. Since it's already been heard, it's already been referred to committee and referred back with a recommendation, we're just going to take it from this point forward. So there was a recommendation made. Is there a motion? Or is there any further
Well,
information?
just a quick question. I think we had another zoo issue, a subsequent one to this, that we voted on a couple months ago, I want to say. And I think we were going to send some type of correspondence about the contract. I'm not sure if we're going to send it to Rec and Parks, who's the, because remember we got into it, and there's a contract between the city and the Zoological Society, and basically part of that contract says they're going to follow all of the provisions of the Sunshine Ordinance.
Right.
And so I think we're going to reach out to either, I don't know, some type of, whoever, manages the contracts for the city or the department itself. I'm just curious if that's been done.
I don't know. There was no letter that was sent to me for signature. It could have been just sent by staff. Victor, are you aware of any?
I am not personally,
Correspondence?
but we can check on that.
Okay.
Yeah, I found it. It's from the January meeting, and we made a motion that said, with request that the city administrator appear to respond to the provisions of the lease agreement relating to the Sunshine Ordinance. So
The January, which committee?
this is the full task force meeting on January 21st.
Okay.
It was item number 9, and it was a related issue with the zoo, with the same complainant. And so, I mean, if we're doing that, I don't want to have it, both items go in different directions. I think we should kind of,
Well, is this a different file number?
it is a different file number, right?
Yeah, so,
But,
I mean, we can't really cross-pollinate the files because the
Right, no,
details are different.
right, but I think the core issue is the same, as basically, we made a ruling, or a finding.
So do you want to defer the recommendation to refer this to ethics until that's found?
I think
what's
it'd be
going on with
helpful
the
to do
previous?
both of them simultaneously. However, obviously we can't join them together because they're two different file numbers. But if they were to follow the course together, I think would make more sense, so that we can kind of track them together.
Yeah, I kind of remember this too, but I
Remember
don't
Henzie.
remember the content of the other.
So
Frankly, I don't remember the content of either one
Okay.
very well. But I do remember that we were going to do, well, not combine the two files, but send them together, or something along those lines. I don't.
Okay. Member testify.
Can you clarify for me, is it the same facts or is it the same, legal issue?
I think what happened is the complainant asked for some various records from the zoo. The zoo asserted that they didn't have to comply with the Sunshine Ordinance, didn't turn them over. We ruled in favor of the complainant, said the zoo had to turn them over. So the
But the
complainant
other-
made a subsequent request for even more records based on
So it was a different request?
this is.
Okay, so the
separately-
facts are
I
different,
think this is the,
but same legal issue?
yes, I think this is the
Okay.
original one, actually.
Right.
Okay.
So, the complainant is here. Since he is here, should we ask him if anything has happened since our last meeting? Mr. Barker,
Through the chair.
through the chair, please. Hi, have there been any changes in this situation since our last meeting, or actually in either of your records requests?
Nothing has changed. Same kind of set of circumstances. And just to clarify, essentially, once the task force found that that there was jurisdiction and that they were required, I expanded my requests and kind of had the worst experience because they just didn't respond at all. So obviously 2 different file numbers, partly me just kind of understanding the system, or just learning the system. So yeah, two different file numbers.
And I'll just note that this is from the January meeting, this particular file, 19048. So,
Sorry,
Highland?
Chair. I'm just looking at the staff notes. It's referencing August 2019. So is this the original file?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it was 19092 was the one that the
Okay, that's a more
full
recent
task force
number.
heard. I believe that was the one that was the subsequent request.
Gotcha. So
Right.
this is the original one.
This
And
is the
that's,
original.
and that's why it's at the state of being referred to DA, et cetera.
Right.
Got it. Okay. So
okay, so what's your pleasure?
I will motion that we forward the matter to the Ethics Commission and the District Attorney's Office.
This, may I ask a clarifying question?
Sure.
This matter only or both?
This matter only.
Okay.
Okay. There's a motion.
I'll second.
Moved by Member LaHood, second by Member Martin. Is there any public comment? Your party, so not public.
Can I make a statement?
That not appropriate during public comment, but is it, because you're party to it, we usually don't allow parties to, because you've had all the time to make testimony and whatnot. If there's something that you wanted to say in general, you can wait till general public comment,
Okay.
as long as it's not about something on the agenda today.
So there's no, like in this kind of file number, there's no opportunity for me to kind of share a final thought?
We've had the full
Okay.
hearing.
Okay, great.
And it's gone back to compliance and amendments for more hearing, so we think there's enough has been.
could I ask the chair a clarifying question about the motion and more about process?
Sure.
So because we have two separate items going on here,
We only have one.
well, we know there's another one in the works, and I'm kind of looking at the big picture. I'm trying to make sure that we get something that goes to Ethics Commission that's watertight, because if we then have a second item that we ask for a clarifying letter, and
Was that other item already adjudicated?
We already adjudicated it, correct? Yeah,
Okay.
we had a finding, and I'm assuming, it
That
sounds like
was
that's
in-
it was in January, January 21st meeting. And
that should be the
so
minutes, right? 092?
That was 092, yeah, 19092
That was in the
in January, and so we had we
We have an OD on that as well?
We do, yeah, and that was the one we had asked for the city administrator to
Explain themselves further.
explain themselves before compliance and amendments. So, I kind of am in agreement with you. I think it's kind of, I don't want to. I
don't
think
wanna-
it makes more sense to send one full package.
Yeah, I don't want to send
Oh, I
something,
see.
I don't want
All
to send
right,
something
hold
to
on.
ethics and then have them see there's another case out there that we're
Right.
still
Right.
deliberating, we're going to look foolish.
Yeah.
I'd rather have it be watertight,
Right, I agree.
even though this, on its own, I agree with Member LaHood, this is ready to go to
yeah.
ethics. However,
Wait a minute, so this is only in regards to 19048. The question is whether 19092 was also recommended. We should not start creating a pile-on of items that have not had motions or actions to send to ethics. You just don't grab things off the table and send them to ethics.
Right, this one we do have an order of determination. What we had done is made an order of determination and sent it back to compliance and amendments. Presumably, they'll hear it again, and I'm assuming the zoo
Right,
won't
so
show up
this
again.
goes, so,
I made the motion for the single item because you said we should not put them together. I'm not opposed to putting them together, I was following your lead.
whatever comes up before us. Now, if you want to wait for this to go out until 19092 is reviewed by compliance and amendments to see if there's a similar outcome, and then both of them get sent together, then sure, we can do
That's
that.
kind of what I was suggesting. I don't know if that
Well,
would
I
be
think
explicit.
Right, so I was thinking it would make more sense to hold this one.
Continue this
Let
item.
Okay,
092 work its way through the process, and then we could bring both 092 and this one back together.
Because they both might be the same stage. at that
Because
point.
they're, yeah. This one's just further ahead in the process, but it's the same issue of the zoo.
Okay.
It's the same complainant, the same respondent, and the same issues that the zoo's basically ignoring us.
I got you.
And the
That
complainant.
makes sense.
So
So
the
I
re-
don't want to send one, and then 2 months later, we send another one to the ethics.
So you want to make a motion to continue, basically, is what you're.
Yeah, I guess I would make a motion to continue
Okay.
until after 092 is heard by compliance and amendments.
But we have a motion on the floor already.
All right, we have to deal with the motion on the floor first.
So the maker and the second can rescind the motion and then, or rescind the motion and then kind of pick it up where you're talking about.
I just have a history question for compliance and amendments. That says respondent provided a letter at compliance and amendments, but didn't show.
Yeah, I mean, essentially reiterated their position from the initial hearing that they don't think that they have to comply with this.
And then I know it's not agendized today, but the second one we've been talking about, we've asked for a contract for who to produce it.
Right, we basically had asked for the city's contract, either the Rec and Park or the city's contract compliance department to give us a status on.
Yeah, we referred it back to compliance and amendments and asked what Chair Wolf said, that the city department come to that meeting so that perhaps they can get some action, because everything we've tried to do with the zoo is they just say we're not coming.
Not complying.
Right,
Yeah, they're like, it doesn't, we hear you, but we're still not gonna come. We don't agree with you.
We don't think you're in the jurisdiction yet.
okay. All right, so what's your pleasure?
I mean, I'll rescind the,
Rescind your second,
yeah,
maker?
I'll rescind the second.
You're a maker?
You don't have
Member
to.
LaHood?
Okay, I'll rescind it and I'll let someone else make a motion.
Okay. So
Okay,
now
so-
we're back to discussion. Go ahead.
So
Is there
I
a
would
motion?
move to continue this matter until a future full task force meeting, once file number 19092 is heard by compliance and amendments and presumably referred back to us, so that we could hear both file numbers in the same meeting.
I'll second that.
Okay. So the motion is to defer 19048, the recommendation for referral.
Pending conclusion of 1902,
Pending conclusion
109092.
19092 by compliance and amendments.
Just out of curiosity, I wonder when is that due, or is it yet?
I don't know when it's scheduled, but probably at its next meeting.
We will look into it and push it along.
It'll be probably within the next 2 or 3 weeks, I think. Okay.
So we have a motion by Member Yankee. Is there a second?
Second by Member Hensy.
Yep.
And that is, I'm going to use slightly different words than continue the matter to the call of the chair with instructions to reschedule it when 19092 is scheduled before the task force.
That's fine. Is that okay with everybody?
That's fine.
Okay, great. Is there any public comment on the motion? Seeing no public comment, please call the roll.
On the motion to continue, Member Yankee.
Aye.
Yankee, aye. Member Hensy.
Aye.
Hensy, aye. Member Highland.
Aye.
Highland, aye. Member LaHood.
Aye.
LaHood, aye. Member Tesfa.
Aye.
Tesfa, aye. Vice Chair Wolf, absent. Member Martin.
Aye.
Martin, aye. Chair Wolf.
Aye.
Wolf, aye. The motion passes. Next on the agenda, item number 5, file number 19109, complaint filed by Stephen Malloy against the Department of Public Health for allegedly violating Administrative Code, Section 67.24, 67.25, 67.26, and 67.27 by failing to respond to a public records request in a timely and/or complete manner.
I just want to notate that it is approaching 5 o'clock. I'm wondering if we should move with public comment first. general public comment, which is slated at 5, since we're so close to it. Let's do that.
On the agenda, item number 4, public comment. Members of the public may address the Sunshine Ordinance Task Force on matters that are within the committee's jurisdiction but not on today's agenda.
Is there any general public comment not on today's agenda? With 30 seconds. Yeah, I hear you. Okay. Oh, is it? Okay, well. All right. Well, if folks did want, we'll come back to it since nobody's stepping up. Somebody walks in. So let's call the next item.
Item number 5 is file number 19109, complaint filed by Stephen Malloy against the Department of Public Health.
Okay.
So we heard this, there was a request for records. Some records were provided. Mr. Malloy was told that he believes that there are other records that have not been released, and the respondent cited attorney-client privilege. So we referred this to the task force for a full hearing.
Okay. Are both parties here? Mr. Malloy? Yes? Health Department's here? Okay, great. Okay, Mr. Malloy, 5 minutes, opening testimony.
Thank you, Task Force. I'll try and speak into this thing this time.
Please review your monitors, folks.
I had just wanted to put together a little timeline of the events, which essentially are that on May 24th of last year, I did a public records request. On May 28th, the Department of Public Health asked for a 14-day extension. I agreed. I did not hear back from them, and an egregious delay until October 4th of 2019, when I reached out to them and asked to get a status report. And at that time, Ms. Vane, who is the, and maybe here, provided me with this response. Which was simply that a document had been released, and we appreciate your patience. We're working on providing the requested documents for you. We uploaded the first batch for your review. I am working to get you additional info by the end of next week. And the first batch that came out, that corresponds to your P302 to P312 in your book. And those are 9 emails. And those 9 emails refer back to, in your book, section 30, which is P364. And that's the contract that I worked under at the Department of Public Health. I'm a state employee with UCSF, and we contract for the city services for homeless clients. And the assignment, the jurisdiction between the two is separate. So the city cannot administer in any personnel or work affairs of the state, and the state in turn cannot administer in any personnel or work affairs for the city. But that was breached in those emails of P302 through P312, where the city served as the agent of the state to make a false government claim of gender discrimination against me. And so as a consequence, I don't know what Ms. Vane will say, but I haven't been able to get the additional records that she indicated I would have that next week. And so here we are, what, like a year later or something like that, 9 months later, and still no records. And so what I have said to Ms. Vane and to the other folks was, as far as I'm concerned, because that is a violation of 6724 of misconduct. As you know, the Ethics Commission has opened a preliminary investigation. They actually had closed an earlier investigation, and when we got the contract, which showed essentially the city had breached its indemnity, is that how you say that? The indemnity clause? That's when everything froze up. And then 6727, which is you're not supposed to do that. If you have the records, you don't keep them secret, you release them. Otherwise, you're subject to a charge of official misconduct. And that's it. Any questions?
That'll come later.
Okay. Thank you.
Are there any persons or witnesses to provide any facts or evidence on behalf of the petitioner? Seeing none, a respondent, Department of Public Health.
Good evening, Task Force. I would like to...
State your name, please.
Oh, my name is Veronica Vienne. I'm from the Department of Public Health. I would like to acknowledge that the Department of Public Health received this public records request. I believe it was in May during the timeline that Mr. Malloy just showed. And we have been actively working on this specific records request. And I believe it was also in October where we did provide those 9 or so emails to Mr. Malloy in response. And then as we kept on moving forward, I've been working with individuals at the Department of Public Health who I know would have the email correspondence that is responsive to this request. I spoke with them, and from my understanding, they are, the broadness of the request is asking, the request is asking for emails or correspondence from November 2017 to July 2019. And we did a general pool for the amount of emails that would be responsive to this request by the request of Mr. Malloy. We used a key term, specifically his name, to kind of conduct that search through our e-discovery system, through our IT team. And we knew that there were going to be thousands of emails that were going to be in correspondence to this. And so we strategized to see if what would be a more efficient way to provide responsive records. And we strategized to work out different ways to see if the individuals can pull the emails themselves into a folder and share that with me. And because of that, we had technical difficulties, and we were just working on problem solving. I am also, and ever since providing those emails and working with them, we recently have activated as a department as an emergency declaration to respond to the coronavirus. And despite my efforts to get in contact with these individuals, I know that they would love to provide the records. It's just that we as a department have a higher priority in terms of responding to the COVID-19 response, and we want to recognize that we will be providing these records. I have in queue right now 981 email items to be reviewed by one specific individual, and our IT team will be pulling these other two individuals' emails, and we expect even more because more than 981 items because these individuals have been in more contact with Mr. Malloy. Therefore, there will be a much more broader pool just by his general request of asking for information to Stephen Malloy. And we would need to take time to review those emails for public patient health information and also any attorney-client privilege information. And I wanted to actually propose that in the midst of the COVID-19 activation, I wanted to see if I can re-strategize and get our IT team to pull not just one of the individual's emails, but all three of the individual email again from the proposed time and work on providing these thousands of emails on a rolling basis as a response to the request. But I wanted to say that this is something that we are working on and we are not intending on holding back any sort of information.
Okay, thank you. Are there any persons or witnesses providing facts or evidence on behalf of the respondent? Seeing none? Members? Member Yankee?
So I'm a little confused about how the coronavirus plays into this timeline because it sounds to me like the original request came in on May 24th of last year. So now we're in March of 2020. So for the vast majority of that period of time, there wasn't a coronavirus outbreak. So can you maybe talk about why we're in March and
Yes.
dealing with the May complaint and still he hasn't received his records?
Yes, absolutely. So we know that the department, so we recently changed to the new online request system called Next Request. And this request was submitted through Next Request. And again, due to technical difficulties, we weren't able to, this specific request dropped off the ball. And then when Mr. Malloy reached out through this specific request system again, that's when I acknowledged and say, hey, we are definitely going to be working on this. And that's when we continued to work on pulling the request. And as time continued, that's where additional technical difficulties rose.
So when was the first time you actually, what's the date of the first time you gave him any records?
Mr. Malloy would have that information in his timeline. And I believe the date that the Department of Public Health provided, I don't have the specific date, but it was in October.
So from May to October, you didn't supply any documents?
That is correct.
I would just say that according to Mr. Malloy's timeline, the IDR was made on May 24th, which was a Friday. And on May 28th, got a response from DPH requesting a 14-day extension. And then he didn't hear back until October.
Right, that seems way, way beyond 14 days.
Right.
And in
Okay.
a period of time where there wasn't coronavirus. So I'm not sure that how
Correct.
that really, that might be a thing now, but to me, it seems like had this been handled appropriately at the time, coronavirus would never have been an issue.
It would have been cured, or it
No,
wouldn't
no,
have
no,
happened?
not coronavirus. The PRA wouldn't have been
Okay.
overlap.
Just
Yeah, it
wanna-
would have been done, if this
Want to be
had been-
clear for the record.
Yes, for the record.
Ms. Bean, how did you receive the IDR originally, the immediate disclosure request?
It would have been through the Next Request system. I believe it's been a while back, so I am not too
So
sure.
you've been using the Next Request system for some time?
I do not know what date it was implemented, but yes, it has been maybe, I don't know how long we have had it as a department.
Okay, thank you. I want to ask Mr. Malloy some questions, so have a seat. Thank you. Mr. Malloy, you sent this IDR through their Next Request system? Is that correct?
I don't remember.
You don't remember how you submitted the request?
I don't remember.
Is it in the file?
No, that's just a
That's
summary.
you mean on page 265?
I think I did. No, I went into the, what does IDR stand for? I went into the
Immediate
website.
Well,
Yeah.
okay, it's an immediate disclosure request. I mean, that's what you have on the document that you showed us, which
Yes.
is not contained in our records, okay? You have it as an IDR there, okay? You have a filing here requesting violations of section 6726, 6725, which is for an IDR. So is this an IDR or
Yes.
not?
I went into the system back in May, and I did one for DPH, and I think I may have done,
Because I want to tackle one thing at a time.
Yeah.
One thing is, if this is an IDR, was their response appropriate under 6725? And did they apply for a proper waiver at the time? So having scanned through this entire records, I am not seeing the original request unless somebody else has seen it. Member testify, do you have a question?
Well, I just wanted to explain to him, the reason we're asking is because there are different rules that pertain to an immediate disclosure request versus a regular request. The timing, the length of time they have to respond,
Right.
things like that. So.
my original request was just a regular, no, I said immediate disclosure in my original request. And then they got back with me on the 28th and asked for the 14-day extension, which I said okay, and gave them some more information.
So immediate disclosure requests can't be made verbally. They have to be done in writing. And they have to be formatted specifically according to the ordinance.
Go, look at page 339. I think I found it.
Okay. B39.
There's I write a response to email received by DHR. So this is DHR response of that immediate disclosure. So that's one of them.
November 7th, November 14th, November 7th.
Oh, okay. It was on November 5th, so it's on page, sorry, page 343.
43, is that the first one? Yeah, so, but you stated that it was May. That's an IDR for November.
There's a confirmation on page 345. Looks like some type of auto response. Dated. May
Right, so that's the
24th.
next request system.
Yeah, but I don't see the actual request itself. Looks like it's just a response.
The request
19
where
dash
we
19.
communicated in, but
No,
that's
they-
October, is P330 and P331.
331.
That was for the,
And actually, in 346,
Okay.
it auto-generates acknowledging the IDR, and they are asking for the 14-day extension. But I'm still not seeing the content of the IDR. I think it's a link you have to click on, but we're not seeing it.
On 330? On
346.
346.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's on May 28th.
Yeah, it says view request 19-1997. If we could click on that, we probably would see it. Actually, there's a link there.
Okay, there.
Yeah.
So there's an acknowledgement that we received your immediate disclosure
We just
request.
can't actually see the request. And it might
original
be a
request.
function of the system,
Hold on, I'm going to cut and paste
or
it.
you
and see if
submit
it'll
it, but
open
you don't get, the copy yourself of what you've submitted. So we understand that's not his
And I
fault.
cut
know.
and paste that link, and it didn't come up as anything active.
Yeah, we do need, so we should just make a mental note that we should review the next request system to see if the original.
And the
intake
original, the respondent should have it.
Response should have it, okay. All right, very good. Okay, so we're straight on this. So they got their initial response, okay, so their initial response was on the 28th. The There's no date of when they got the original. Okay. Okay. All right. And then on here, they said we are invoking up to 14 days. So, okay, so that is not correct either.
Oh. Thanks, I'm up here poking around on the thing.
Okay, any other questions? So have you received any documents, Mr. Malloy, to date?
I only received the 9 emails from October 4th, and the reason it seems to me that there's an issue is if you look at who those people are, they're all the chiefs who had this discussion about me unlawfully. And so I don't know to the degree to Ms. Vang can disclose, but clearly the city attorney was involved.
So you received those emails?
Yes, I received those 9.
Okay.
And then, as you saw from her correspondence, we were supposed to, she had another batch waiting for me. And I think what happened is when I got the 9 and started my legal activities, Jonathan Yank, who was the city attorney assigned to my case, we started clashing. And so it's my feeling that he blocked and that Dennis Herrera then blocked because they didn't want the city to be liable, which they are. And so that's why we're 9 months out, and they have the emails. They just don't want to release them because of the people. Kavos Barceri, who runs Department of Public Health.
Sorry, through the chair. Mr. Malloy, if I can interrupt. What was the basis of your IDR? Was it anything that has the word Stephen Malloy in it within a certain date range? Is that roughly it?
Yes, and then when...
So, hold on, let me... what was the date range? Do you remember?
When I did it through... In May, I said through the current time, and then I think when I did it again in October, I was like, take me through the current time, because I knew people would still be
in
communicating.
May, starting when? January 1st to May of 2019?
October of 2018 to May of 2019 when I first filed.
Okay.
Because I was thinking I was going to get it in 14 days.
Got you. Okay.
And then since then, I've always said to people, bring it to present day.
And I think they asked you to try give you more keywords or narrow the scope. Did you respond to that?
I did. I said, try and look in HR, EEO, Medical Respite Sobering Center, high utilizers, emails, correspondence, and files. And again, it's a matter of them tracking those senior leaders who were discussing me and taking adverse employment actions and should not have been. So I think it's a sensitivity around disclosure.
Right. We can't get into the content, but we can help you, get any documents, emails, whatever.
Right.
But we're still trying to, we still need to see the original IDR. That would really help us maybe going forward. Victor, that might be something worth, that should be checked off on our, index on page 1, the original complaint. One of the things we talked about in our retreat.
Right, so. we
On
can't- we-
P596, sorry, Mr. Wolf.
Go ahead.
I think P596, if I'm not in fire. Yeah, so P596, I think, is the original one. Hi there, your record request 1998 has been submitted. It's currently under review, is not available to the general public, and that was May 24th, 2019, 12:54 a.m.
596, doesn't go up that high.
That doesn't gel with our page numbers here, unfortunately.
I think that's the other item.
Oh, okay. Okay, we're still focusing on the first one.
Okay.
I did notice somewhere in one of your emails, Mr. Malloy, you mentioned, I don't want these printed out, I want to come in and see them.
Correct.
Did Did they give you that opportunity to come in and?
No, no one has in all departments.
Did they insist on printing these out and giving them to you?
No, what's happened is people don't listen to me or call me or ask me any questions. They just send them, which is why all the confidential information got released, which I never asked for. And that was part of the reason why I want to come in and sit down so that I can actually look and say, okay, well, I want that one or that one.
Mm-hmm.
But they've just been taking attachments and just sending them, which they shouldn't do. That's why there's a redaction problem, is because they just sent me the stuff. And they're sending me my stuff. I don't need my stuff. I need you to do the due
Can I
diligence.
ask a question of Ms. Vienne?
Yeah, of course.
Ms. Vienne, could you approach for a second? Thank you, Mr. Malloy. Ms. Vienne, you mentioned there's one person that needs to review all this. Who is that one person in your department?
Well, I've been in contact with 3 individuals who I was told that had responsive records to this request.
Oh, so you did a keyword search of Stephen Malloy, their emails or their names popped up?
Can you repeat that one more time?
Yeah, so when you did a search on Stephen Malloy, their emails came up with hits?
No, so because I have no exactly, I'm not sure what the situation is or what the background story is. As a public records officer, I just received the request, and essentially I remember calling Mr. Malloy and kind of asking him exactly where should I begin. And I learned that he was an employee of DPH of some sort, maybe UCSF, but it's kind of murky. And so I had to reach out to my HR people and essentially kind of ask, can you tell me any information about Stephen Malloy, and who essentially, if he was an employee, who did he report to? And essentially that's how I have to do my investigation personally.
Hold on a second. Are you the custodian of records for?
Correct.
You are. You don't need to.
She's the public, or you're the public information officer.
I'm both. I do.
But you don't have these records.
I don't
initially.
have these records personally. I always have to, I'm kind of like the liaison.
PIO, yeah.
Yeah.
So so almost every department and agency in the city now has a central person that pulls together the sunshine requests.
Okay.
And they will go chase down the records that are being asked for.
Okay, so quick question: when you respond to a search like this or a request like this, do you sit down on a database and put in a keyword and it pops up across 10 different departments where the records are? How do you see what's responsive?
So I wish that was the case. Then I would have more power on how I can provide records. However, so as I said before, in this specific case, all the requests are different, but in this specific case, I learned that Mr. Malloy wanted records, all records pertaining to Mr. Malloy. And so me not knowing the background, I had to reach out and ask Mr. Malloy, what is it exactly you're looking for? Because I don't have any way of punching Mr. Malloy's name and knowing all the records that are available. I have to reach out to specific departments, either the IT department, either the HR department, or contracts department, or whatever the department is, in order for their subject matter expertise to let me know what records are responsive to a certain request. And so in this specific case, I again reached out to our HR team, who can help me identify if this individual, in this case Mr. Malloy, is or was a DPH employee or UCSF employee, and that way kind of work through them to let me know how do I get this person's email, or who should I be working with in order to know what kind of responsive records will be responsive to this specific case. And that's when I learned that Mr. Malloy reported to one of the individuals in DPH, and that's where I reached out to that specific individual and kind of asked, okay, Mr. Malloy is asking for records, all records pertaining to him in terms of email communication. Can you help provide email responses to that? And who would be the appropriate parties that I would also have to pull in order to get these email responses?
Okay, and I think I heard you say in your opening statement you had 900 emails that you have ready, but there's one person that needs to review them for redactions or for
So
whatever.
I don't have a specific timeline of the thing, but I can tell you kind of the process. So once I learned that this specific Mr. Miller's supervisor identified 2 additional individuals, and so there's a total of 3 individuals who I was told have responsive records to this request. And I
Who
bring
told you that?
the supervisor of Mr. Malloy at that time.
Previous supervisor.
Yes.
Okay.
And so there's a total of 3 individuals that I have names of now that I can pull, not meet directly. I have to use these 3 names and work now with IT to pull emails from their
Account.
emails, from their accounts.
Their-
And so
And you said there was,
there were thousands of emails that came up.
okay, and who's going to review those to see what and how much of it you turn over to Mr. Malloy? Who's that person? Yourself?
So depending on the specific type of documents, it can be me, depending on the situation. In this case, it won't be me because I do not have the background, nor do I know what specific documents are public health, patient information, or what is exactly attorney-client privilege, because I know that after speaking with them, it's a delicate matter, and there's already conversations with the city attorney about this specific subject, and I know that that their specific department works with a lot of patients. And so I won't be the one reviewing this. However, I know that we have, so far for one individual of the 3, we have 981 items that IT has helped pull directly from this person's email. And the other 2 individuals, there were some technical difficulties, but what I will do again, I will have to re-pull these emails from these other 2 individuals, and I am anticipating thousands of items, and that way after I pull these emails, I would have to work with them or whoever they advise would be best for this specific records review to review the records and redact whatever's necessary info and then provide that over.
Surely you handled records requests in the past. I mean, it sounds like you're in the dark ages trying to do this for the first time. I'm sorry, that just doesn't sound like you're very comfortable in what you're doing here. And, you know, there's a process.
Well, let's not characterize it. Let's keep
Well, no,
to
I'm
the
just,
point of what's happening.
but her answers are not very satisfying.
Okay,
so
if they're
I'll
not
leave-
satisfied, we'll talk about that
leave
when
it at
we're doing discovery here. Let's just keep to trying to collect as much information as possible.
I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Ms. Veen, let me ask you, is DPH, so you're in the process of now pooling together a big package of documents. They've got to be reviewed for, personal or medical information under HIPAA, that kind of stuff, right? Okay. When do you expect that to be finished? And who is doing it for you?
I do not have a specific individual identified for this to review all of the thousands of emails, because that's something that
Are you saying that so let me ask you about these thousands of emails. Are they all related to Mr. Malloy?
well, when we ask IT to search, that's when we ask the specific key term that Mr. Malloy asked for is Stephen or Stephen Malloy. And so technically all these items contain his name, regardless of whether that email content has his name or if he's just CC'd.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, but it's quite a bit of documentation. That's a lot.
Correct.
Okay, so the key thing here is you initially asked for a 14-day extension. You're invoking a incremental rolling basis. It's been going on now almost a year, 10 months. So I think that's what's concerning us here at this point. So I'm not going to belabor that point. I'm just going to make the point that's what we're concerned about. That is DPH refusing to provide any other specific records?
Not that I know of now. And the only records that we would not be providing would be anything that is not disclosable, which is attorney-client privilege items, or that under the advice of the city attorney, or items that are, again, that potentially may violate HIPAA.
Okay, so those, if the department's going to claim some form of either withholding or exemption versus redaction, we'll need a citation of law.
Correct.
But you'll need to tell us what that law is that protects, that allows for that exemption or withholding.
Correct. Whatever the redaction is, or whatever the non-disclosable items, that we would have to cite it back to the
Okay.
code of the ordinance.
Okay. Have you made a determination if Mr. Malloy is an employee of the city or of UCSF?
So I play the messenger. From my understanding, he reported to one of a DPH employee, but I am personally unsure if he was exactly UCSF or DPH. That is more of a
So
Mr.
the
Malloy
reason why
question.
we ask is because this is, he also has a case against UCSF where the same contract has come up. And so this is now in reverse. Instead of trying to get the information from UCSF, he's trying to get information from all sides. Okay, so the question that has come up is that he keeps asking or keeps telling us is that he can't get a straight answer, or he's being told that he's not a city employee, that he's an employee of UCSF. But the contract in our read, at least from the in the complaint committee, the committee that heard the complaint, and reading it through, it's very clear in this contract that the city has contracted with UCSF, and there are very specific provisions in it. As a contractor, it's not like they got a grant to provide third-party services somewhere. They are actually been hired by the city to actually provide services that the city either can't provide or normally would not provide, like street cleaning, that kind of thing. So because of the provisions that he has cited in his opening testimony and in the record here, that's why we're asking. That's why I'm asking if DPH is refusing to provide any documents in claiming that he's not a city employee. So I'm just asking it for clarification.
That is not the case that I know of.
Okay.
I know we are working to get those records from. I
Okay.
am not aware of any of the
Great.
background story.
Thank you for that
Correct.
clarification. Okay. Anything else, members? Nope.
Actually, could
Yeah,
I ask
Member
Mr.
LaHood?
Malloy a question? Hi.
Hi.
So despite this long delay, it sounds like the department intends to give you the documents that you're requesting. Is that your impression as well?
No, it isn't.
Okay.
When she says, three people, I'm a UCSF employee. I was a UCSF employee, and to Mr. Will's point, we were just contracted to provide the mental health services for the homeless clients. I just happened to be housed at a DPH facility 100% of the time because that's where the clients were. But the issue is Carlos Basiri, the director of mental health, Roxanne Costello, the director of operations for the city of San Francisco, Hallie Hammer, the DPH medical director. All of those people communicated and created records about me that have nothing to do with clients. They have to do with me and my administration of my personnel affairs, which they can't touch, but they did, and they involved themselves in. And so there is some sensitivity. So it's not three people, it's those people. I don't need the 1,000 records from when I was working as a navigator. That's client. I don't need that. I need the written records concerning people like this who went, and you have to do those threads. You have to find that, and they're not doing that.
May I ask a follow-up?
Yeah, go
So are you saying that you don't want the records that Ms. Vian is going after regarding these three individuals, or you want those in addition to these other records?
I want them in addition to.
Okay,
Right.
thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, Member Yankee.
Follow up. How do you know that these people on this list have records about you? I'm just curious.
Because the first email thread that she released to me in October, that 9 email thread, is all of those people that I'm showing here communicating about me.
Okay.
So when I got that email thread, that's how I knew that the city had breached its indemnity clause, or however you say that. And so I think the sensitivity is those are powerful people who made a mistake, who don't want to admit that negligence, but they should, and they can't maintain those records in secret, and they are.
So are you asking specifically for those three people? that you
I don't know who
mentioned?
the 3 people are at my work site.
You just named 3 people.
Oh.
Dr. Basiri,
No,
Hallie Albert, and Hallie Hammer, and there was another one.
Right. All of those people on that list communicated about me and generated records in that 9 email thread that they released to me in October. So what I would say to Ms. Vane is, well, you have, I think it's 15 people there who have touched and have records concerning Stephen Malloy. It's not 3. I worked with 3 primary people at DPH. That's Charge Nurse Megan Kennel.
Got it. So you're
Yeah.
asking, so all these people work for the city?
Except for the ones at the bottom. They're UCSF employees, but we communicated with all of
I
those city
understand
employees.
that, but if you're here for this case today, this file today, you're asking for information from DPH.
Well, DPH will have all of those people.
I understand that, but you're asking for records that they have custody of.
Correct.
Okay, just
Yes.
want to be clear, okay?
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions, members? No, we're ready for rebuttals? Okay, Ms. Veen, you have 3 minutes for rebuttal.
I wanted to say that I did not know that Mr. Malloy had a list, but then I think what we can do is actually, you can maybe provide me with that list of people, because that actually makes my job easier to identify which email accounts to pull. And I think now that we have met in person, I think we can work together to essentially kind of identify exactly what the records you want. Identify the timeline, maybe identify any other specifics that we can potentially narrow down, knowing that there are the 30,000 of items in queue just from 3 people, and seeing that the list was about maybe 10 to 12 people. Those will be more items that we would have to produce and review, and essentially we would need time to review that again. And but I think we can start with that list that you have, and I'd be happy to take that list, and if you could share it with me.
Is that it?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Malloy, you have 3 minutes for rebuttal.
Yes, I just wanted, thank you. The elephant in the room, it seems to me, is this issue of those people on that list are holding records in secret. And under 6724, that is misconduct. And investigator, I hear you all often talk about, the Ethics Commission. The Ethics Commission has had my complaint, as does the City Whistleblower Office, as does the Human Rights Commission, and everybody is in stasis. Nobody is making movement because nobody wants to deal with the elephant in the room, which is powerful people breached the contract, and those records are being held and no one is speaking. But there shouldn't be a gag order that's allowed by the city attorney. He needs to turn the records over. If he wants to redact, as you said, then he cites statute and he cites law so that I can understand from the footnote what is occurring with the record. And so my feeling is they should not be able to just dismiss me and ignore me when they're a public official who has a responsibility to turn the record over. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, members. Discussion. So I'll start the ball rolling. This is, there's obviously a timeliness issue for 6725 on the IDR. It was a day late. There was a timeliness issue on responsive records based upon the request for a waiver of 14 days, which was also incorrect because it's 10 days. So we'll start with that. Also, his request to see the documents in person to review was denied.
And it was also an incomplete response.
Okay. Well, because it was late, right? They didn't respond to it for some time. Right. Yeah, Member Yankee.
Just to clarify the timeline, it looks like 5/24 was a Friday. Memorial Day was the 27th, so the 28th would have been the next business day.
Okay, then
So I think we
fine.
could probably
We can
cut that part out.
Okay, then let's do that. Okay. So it's not timeliness of response, it's timeliness, not timeliness of the IDR response, but timeliness of record delivery. Okay. And then the wrong waiver period, which doesn't really matter because they didn't produce anything till October. Okay. Incremental rolling basis is allowed. The question is when did they start? We're back to that question, but considering the voluminous nature. Okay. Anything else? I'm not necessarily compelled by the petitioner's argument or supposition that around 6724 for that kind of withholding. I'm not compelled that there's actual evidence that they're withholding, except that there was this very lengthy period of time before responding. So I think about that for a moment. I mean, the purpose of 6724 is if they are withholding public information and refusing to provide it and without any kind of reason. So I'm not necessarily hearing that from the respondent that they're withholding anything. I think it's just very late in the game to be not producing documents. And then the justification withholding, we don't necessarily know what that is yet, because no documents or the bulk of the documents haven't been released. The concern I have, though, is that based upon what has happened here with the release of documents, there were a lot of documents that were released that didn't pertain to Mr. Malloy. And he said in his testimony that he's only interested in the information not if that has to do with him and him personally, and not necessarily around the administration of the work that he was doing. And so I'm not quite sure. I'm not hearing a justification for withholding. It just seems more like stalling at this point. And somebody wants to make a case for 6727, be my guest. I don't think the Department of Public Health is disputing that the documents that they have are not public. They're obviously, at this point now, taking some diligence. Doesn't necessarily absolve them for the time that it's taken to get here. All right. Anything else, Member LaHood?
No, it's nothing else. I mean, so is this 6725D? Because they did respond initially, but then there was an excessive delay, and even with the voluminous nature, there should have been provided on a rolling basis, and they were not. So is that the correct violation?
Let's see. Yeah.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion for a violation of 6725D.
I'll second.
So moved by Member LaHood, second by Member Martin. I will also be referring this to compliance and amendments. Member Yankee.
I'm just wondering if we should also include B, because I believe they wanted a 14-day extension, but
Oh, right.
under B, it's really only a
10-day.
A 10-day, so I would
That's
just
right.
amend to also do 67.
Is that okay with the
25.
maker in the second?
I accept the amendment.
I do too.
Okay. So it's is motion to find a violation of 6725 B and D. This will be a call to compel to produce documents, and we'll be referring this to compliance and amendments because they're openly stating that there possibly be redactions and withholdings of various different records that should be accompanied with citations for justification. That would be the 6727 part. Okay. Anything else? Any other further discussion or debate on the matter? Okay. Public comment? Any public comment on the motion? Seeing none, please call the roll.
This matter, motion to find a violation in 67.25B and D for failure to respond to a immediate disclosure request in a timely and complete manner, and to refer the matter to the Compliance Amendments Committee to confirm that the records are provided. On that motion, Member LaHood.
Aye.
LaHood, aye. Member Martin.
Aye.
Martin, aye. Member Hinsey.
Aye.
Hinsey, aye. Member Tesfa.
Aye.
Tesfa, aye. Vice Chair Wolf.
Aye.
Wolf, aye. Member Yankee.
Aye.
Yankee, aye. Member Highland.
Aye.
Highland, aye. Chair Wolf.
Aye.
Wolf, aye. The motion passes.
And
This
just
ma-
note, go ahead.
This matter will be referred to the Compliance Amendments Committee.
Okay. And just note for the record that Vice Chair Wolf arrived at 5:22 p.m. Okay, let's go back to item number, item number 4, public comment.
Is there any members of the public who would like to provide public comment?
And just before you start, just a point of personal privilege, is it possible to call building management and turn the air conditioning on?
Yeah.
I can try, but the building is having many, many problems.
Oh, okay, so it's
Oh.
there's a current building problem.
It's a building with a problem for the past year and a half.
Okay. Hasn't been this warm, but okay. Okay, go ahead.
Yes, my name is Dente Tedessa. Thank you again. I am becoming more and more disappointed and would like to understand why, or actually would like to have the chair perhaps open up all my case files. I've looked through all of them. There are some serious mistakes in them in terms of the dates, in terms of what they actually allege. The record, again, for the January 2019 hearing, where I was present and the sheriff's office took my service animal away and I had to leave. This is probably the first time a violation happened live right here. Yet there's no record of it. There's no record in the minutes. The minutes. I mean, so I understand perhaps, I'd be a little bit more accommodating, if you will, about the reason that Ms. Leger gave, and I don't blame her. I don't blame you guys. I honestly think that it's other actions and other factors involved, but there's no record of the meeting. There's no record of the meeting. My voice is not on there. It just starts with you, Chair Wolf, going on about the issue about them taking my service animal while I am in a meeting. There's no mention of it in the record, saying that even on your website in the order of determinations, there's no footnote saying that this is a partial record. Those kind of things are really important, because if you don't have a record of my voice speaking to the truth, and you don't have the record of what happened in paper, something's wrong. There's something wrong going on, and that's unacceptable. And I have come to you guys with with a lot of respect, and I still do. I still respect you guys, and I hear your struggles with it. And I'm a very lucky person, because I have a person who has who's a chair, and who has you have a pack dedicated to dogs, and Vice Chair Highland also actually had pit bulls. I mean, I couldn't believe it. That was my luck, and yet still this is happening. All my cases, there's something seriously wrong. I need to find out how I can go about to clear them up. That is the only thing I wanted to do, is to come here for the public record. That's it. Nothing else. And I know you guys can't do anything, but if I can't get the basics done, or I can't have the basic record even be reflective of what's happening, I'll be petitioning you every time I can. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other public comment for items not on the agenda? All right, seeing no other public comment is closed. Let's call the next item.
Item number 6, file number 19110, complaint filed by Stephen Malloy against the fire department for allegedly violating Administrative Code Section 67.24, 67.25, 67.26, and 67.27 by failing to respond to a public works request in a timely and/or complete manner.
Looks like our complainant stepped out.
Oh,
He had his. I know he stepped out with a dog.
okay. So we heard this at Compliance and Amendments. Mr. Malloy had submitted a request. The fire department responded, said they didn't have responsive records. But then I believe he provided some additional information about what he was looking for. They did ultimately give him about 800 emails, but they were not provided in a timely manner. The fire department did admit that they failed to respond in a timely manner. They said there were some issues with the way they were responding to next requests. They said they are trying to improve that to make sure that a long delay like this doesn't happen again. And it sounded there, but there was acknowledgement of a delay, which an excessive delay, which is why we wanted to send this to the full task force. But it also seemed as though the two parties were working together to try to fulfill Mr. Malloy's request.
Okay. Mr. Malloy, 5 minutes.
You again. On this, you know, it's the same thing for me, which is just simply, I have no idea who within leadership as a manager or supervisor touched my case, so to speak, and communicated. And so I have to rely on these good folks to do that due diligence. So that's really the only thing that I can ask. I appreciate what fire has done, but you know, you saw like the chief of diversity and the chief of integrity in the city and the chief of operations. So I don't know, given my work with the fire captains, if it got kicked up and then there were communications on fire, who I worked very closely with for those 6 months, around these other subjects. And so if that's the case, then I would like to get those records too. And I don't know who that might be, or similar to DPH, you know, it just popped out that when I saw the 9 emails, I was like, well, then go here and go here and go here. So that's my only concern, is that they do that due diligence to try and find as much information as they can. Thanks.
Are there any persons or witnesses providing facts or evidence on behalf of the petitioner? Seeing none, respondent, San Francisco Fire Department. You have 5 minutes.
So, as the member said, the San Francisco Fire Department does acknowledge our initial failure in response to Mr. Malloy's May 24th request until September 16th. However, we have satisfied the other provisions in the sections by disclosing the responsive records that we have in our possession as soon as the materials were located. We've identified the procedural issues that led to the initial delay in responding, and in taking steps to ensure that those issues are remedied so this doesn't happen again. The fire department currently receives and reviews our public records in 2 different ways. The requests seeking property and building information and documents, which are the majority of our requests, our fire prevention personnel have the responsibility for reviewing and responding to requests, including those that have come in via next request. For the requests that do not relate to property, such as Mr. Malloy's request, the fire prevention personnel route those requests to the compliance officer who is assigned to handle the requests. We discovered the fact that the multiple staff were assessing the next request website, which has in some cases led to confusion regarding whether or not the request in the system has been reviewed or addressed. In the case of Mr. Malloy's request, the issue led to a significant delay in responding to the request. And we've conducted a review of next request submissions, and we are put in place a process so the delays won't happen again, and we are adjusting the processes in which to ensure that timely processing of the requests are met. Let's see here. Since we have initially responded to Mr. Malloy's request on September 13th, we have been working and communicating with Mr. Malloy regarding his request and been trying to receive information and being able to reply to his request to the best of our ability. And as the member said, we have sent documents to Mr. Malloy, and we have conducted an exhaustive search, and we have been working with the city attorney diligently to redact the information
to make sure that we can get those documents to Mr. Malloy in a timely manner. And we have exhausted our search, and I can tell you that we will have the items completely redacted and delivered, everything in our possession, to Mr. Malloy by the end of next week. That's it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank
Is there
you.
any pers-
State your name.
My name's John Tucker.
In your position at the.
I'm the compliance officer.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any persons or witnesses to provide any facts or evidence on behalf of the respondent? Seeing none, members?
I mean, it, not only does it seem clear, but the department has acknowledged that there was an issue of timeliness. I'd recommend that we find violation for timeliness and send this to compliance and amendments to ensure that Mr. Malloy receives the documents, which the department has said they will be providing.
Okay, is that a motion?
I want to let other people talk.
Okay.
I was thinking that, but do we need to do rebuttals first?
Right,
It wasn't a
we will do
motion.
that. Well, we have to go for rebuttals first, you're right. So, so hold off on your motion. Is there any other information that you need? No, at this point? Okay, let's go for rebuttals. Mr. Tucker, you're first, 3 minutes, if you have any rebuttals. Nope, okay, waives rebuttals. Mr. Malloy, do you have any? Nope. Both parties waive rebuttal. Now you can make your motion.
I'd like to make a motion to find a violation for timeliness and to recommend that we send this back to compliance and amendments.
Under which section of the
Oh,
ordinance?
now I have to look it up.
Looks like it's an immediate disclosure request would probably be the same as
725.
I'll take that.
So is it just B? Because this was definitely a responsive under A.
So 6725A and 6725B.
Okay.
D.
A and D. Okay.
I'll second that.
Okay, so moved by Member LaHood, second by Member Yankee. Any other discussion? Any public comment on the motion? Seeing no public comment, please call the roll.
On that motion, Member LaHood.
Aye.
LaHood, aye. Member Yankee.
Aye.
Yankee, aye. Member Tesfa.
Aye.
Tesfa, aye. Vice Chair Josh Wolf.
Aye.
Wolf, aye. Member Martin.
Aye.
Martin, aye. Member Highland.
Aye.
Highland, aye. Member Hinsey.
Aye.
Hinsey, aye. Chair Wolf.
Aye.
Wolf, aye. The motion passes, and the matter will refer to Compliance and Amendments Committee. Next on the agenda, item number 7, file number 19084, complaint filed by Mo Green against the City Attorney's Office for allegedly violating Administrative Code Section 67.21 and 67.25 by failing to respond to a request for documents in a timely and/or complete manner.
Okay, this came out of the Complaint Committee. Member
Is
Martin,
anyone here for it?
I think Mr. Green is here.
are both parties here? Is Mr. Green here and Public Utilities Commission?
Okay, thank you.
Yes?
This one's against the City Attorney, number 7.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, City Attorney, I'm sorry. City Attorney is here? No?
Aye.
But Mr. Green, you are? You are here? Okay, great.
So if I remember this correctly, it was almost a form over substance where there were interrogatories. It was submitted almost, well, as a sunshine request, but it didn't say it was mainly in the forms of questions. So they said, well, it wasn't really a request to produce anything, and we said, well, okay, well, still could be a violation. If I remember correctly, that's kind of what was going on. Mr. Green was frustrated, understandably. Okay.
All right. Well, we'll hear his testimony.
So,
Did the city attorney respond? Respondents contend the complainant never filed. Okay. So we do have a response. So we'll note for the record that the respondent is not here. Members, how do you want to dispense with this? Do you want to hear the case, or do you want to continue?
Well, it always annoys me when one side doesn't show up, but Member Wolf.
Through the clerk, did the city attorney make any comments about whether they were planning on not being able to attend?
I'm sorry to say I am not completely familiar with it. I'm a last-minute fill-in today. But I am not aware of any things to the SOTF email account regarding non-appearance at today's meeting.
And presumably Cheryl would have made a note that they had said that they weren't coming when.
That would be my assumption, yes.
Great. And then, Member Martin?
Yeah.
You were at the complaint committee hearing that preceded this full task force, is what I just heard, right?
Yeah, correct.
And the city attorney was there at that point in time?
I believe so.
And I'm assuming you don't have any recollection of the city attorney suggesting they weren't coming today at the
No.
meeting?
No.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay, shall we begin?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Green, you have 5 minutes.
All right, well. Okay, thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Mo Green, and the reason why I'm here today is because I'm trying to request some public records documents that I've been having difficulties receiving from the city city attorney's office and also Public Utilities Commission, but we speak on the attorney's office. I filed a complaint some time back regarding civil case. And so what I was trying to do was trying to get some documents during the discovery process. One of the documents I submitted a request regarding the discovery process was dealing with interrogatories was one, request for admission, and production of documents. And so the city, claimed they provided me documents, but the problem with the documents that they provided, they're going to claim they provided me like 9,000 documents, but a lot of the documents that I received was either duplicates, unnecessary information pertaining to my, let's say, for example, driver's license or social security number, which I already know that, and items that I felt that was irrelevant to what I was requesting in the first place. And so I tried different chains of command to try to go through to get these requests. And so that's why I filed a public records request through y'all. I wouldn't want to be here if I wasn't getting information, because I wasn't getting information I didn't receive. So now we're here, and I have some documents that I can show you, give you examples of how there's some discrepancies with the information because of a lot of documents was redacted. And so I don't know, the information, and it pertains to myself. And so a lot of information was blocked out or blacked out that I can't really understand what it is. So I have the documents itself. I also have the discovery request or the public records request that I felt that it was insufficient. And if you would like this for me to show you that, I can do that as well. And so what else is there? Also, the city asked for, this is separate. That's the next file number, but yes. Other than that, they're going to claim that they provided me documents, which I did receive, but again, some of it was insufficient. And I have the items that I felt was insufficient based off supporting documents that I submitted through the Sunshine Ordinance Task Force email system. I submitted the requests that I asked for, in addition to the records that I did receive pertaining to it, which I can show on this, I guess this screen thing. And so it can be much more easier for y'all to follow.
We're just listening to your testimony.
Oh, okay. So,
you have 5
but
minutes. Do
so
whatever.
can I show the? But the thing is, I don't know if
You
I.
have 5 minutes.
Okay, can I show the document, Victor,
Absolutely.
please? Please, Victor.
Where is it displayed right now?
Yeah, I'm gonna put it in display right now in terms of the documents itself. Okay, it's 5 minutes. Okay, it's one particular is okay. I have to cover it up. So there was I don't know if you can see it, but I submitted it to y'all. So for example, a lot of the stuff that they provided to me, it was blacked out. I don't need people's personal information, but this record in particular, I wanted to know about who determined the ranks, the criterias, and how do they score in the criterias. As you can see, my name is on below, and so this is for a position I applied to for a project management job that subsequently I didn't receive an interview, but people who did receive interviews didn't even have the experience that I had, and so I kind of wanted to know why did they get pushed to the further to the interviewing process, and I wanted to know who was in the interview panel and who decided to rate this criteria or grade it. This is one document. Okay, a couple of other documents that I have was dealing with.
Go ahead, finish.
It's okay. I'm
Finish your
sorry.
point.
Thank you. My apologies. Just okay. It's another couple of documents where I'll give you an example. This one right here, they provided this document, which was part of the same position that I applied to, and it was they redacted a whole lot of this information. And so I don't know what is the score that I received and why I was either rejected or accepted. I don't know. So I just need some information pertaining to that. So this was another one. What else? I'll get this one. And I guess I can get that one. And there was one more that I wanted to show. And also in this document, I forgot to say, there was some legends that they provided that I really didn't know. They didn't provide the legend, but part of the deposition and the position and status, there were some acronyms that I wasn't familiar with. So I was asking for clarification, which they failed to provide that to me for. And I think also, and there was another document, but this is not the one that they provided, where I got this one. But they blacked out a whole bunch of these sections. I was able to get this information a different way. But I asked for positions and classifications based off of racial breakdown. And the reason why I was asking for that, because I feel like discrimination is taking place where certain groups of people are not receiving jobs. So I wanted to know, in terms of the racial breakdown, who was receiving managerial positions. And so a lot of this information was blacked out. I have it on my computer itself, so I don't know if I can show it on this contraption, but they blacked out a lot of this information. And so what I was trying to get was a racial breakdown. And the last thing was, this was a list of information that I was seeking. And some of it was dealing with the Sunshine Ordinance request, as you can see. I asked for certain questions. So item number 39 was one of them. 40 was another one. I asked for number 41, which was a complaint regarding discrimination, anyone who filed a complaint against particular individuals in management. And they failed to provide me this information regarding the individual, Mr. Banks itself. There was other information regarding stuff that I was looking for regarding complaints of certain officials, and they failed to provide that to me as well, including what else there's another stuff they asked for. About information regarding like panel on the actual the position I applied to, or several position I applied to. It's just a lot of information overall. They haven't granted me to, and that's what I'm just trying to get is that information.
All right, let's stop there.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
And we'll probably have some questions for you.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Green. Are there any persons or witnesses providing facts or evidence on behalf of the petitioner? Seeing none, the respondent is not present. Are there any persons or witnesses providing facts or evidence on behalf of the respondent? Seeing none, members? Questions, clarifications at this time?
Can I ask a
Member
quick-
testify.
Well, when we're ready, I have a question for the committee members,
Okay,
so.
great.
I'll put that out.
Member Martin?
Mr. Green, how are you? I just a question.
Okay, how you doing?
Doing
Mr.
all right.
Moore?
Since we last saw you, have they provided anything else to you?
They sent me 2 CDs. One CD was with some documents, and then they resent me this CD with a little additional documents. But a total, it was like I think it was like 9,000. But like I said before, I received those documents. I already looked through them, and it's the similar information that they provided to me before, which is the reason why I filed the Sunshine Ordinance request, because it was a lot of stuff was missing.
Right. But when did they provide that to you? A couple weeks ago, a month ago?
I believe it was probably a couple weeks ago, a month ago or so. I'm not too sure the exact date itself. I didn't bring the actual
Okay,
envelope.
That's all right. But since the last time we saw you?
Yeah, they did provide it after the last time of December. I think I saw y'all December 17th, which was the second time I saw y'all.
Let me pick it up from there on this point.
Okay.
So of these multitude of documents, you say you already had gotten those documents from the city attorney's office?
Previously, yes.
Previously. So the additional documents that they sent you on a CD was repetitive?
It was repetitive, yes.
There was nothing new?
Nothing new from what I saw out of the 9,000, what I was able to comb through. It was, they claimed that 9,000 documents during the discovery process. They claimed the 9,000 documents that they provided to me, and the CD had the 9,000 documents.
When you say discovery process, was this part of a lawsuit or?
That's part of the lawsuit. Part of the lawsuit was you'll file discovery, and so you request for documents. I did it through certain parameters, which was the.
Did the court allow you a subpoena? To get those documents? Did the court kind of do any?
No, we didn't do a subpoena. We just try to go through meet and confer process.
Okay.
And we were trying to,
All right.
yeah, pretty much.
Great. I have a couple other questions.
Okay.
Did the city attorney tell or give you the criteria for the interview and the scoring process? And this was done this was the PUC, right?
Yes.
Okay. Did the city attorney give you any of that information?
The
around
city,
this?
I believe, some of the records they gave me, like the chart that I provided with
Right.
the criteria, they gave me the criteria heading, but they didn't tell me what determines the rating system of who gets the high rating, who gets the low rating. I didn't know that.
How they make their decisions.
How they make it, exactly.
Okay, got it. Okay. For the items that you showed us that were redacted, and it's an interesting way to do redaction.
Yes.
The way they did it. It seemed like you already knew what the information was underneath the redaction for some of the documents that you showed us.
Some I was not, and those are the information I'm trying to get.
How's it that you got documents that were unredacted?
I was able to get that. Yes.
And did you get those from the city attorney?
Some of them I have.
Some of them you have, but
some of them I have not, and this is the reason why I'm trying to get the follow through of the other information.
Okay. Do you have a list of what was unresponsive from the city attorney?
Yes, I do have a list that I wrote down, and I submitted that in my supplement supporting documents
Okay.
a week before this
Okay.
hearing.
Okay, great.
But I can go through it if you want. I have a list right here in front of me.
Okay. So with regards to like the racial breakdown, that you've seen that before, unredacted?
No, some of it was redacted. Some of it in terms of the positions itself.
Okay.
Like there was a one in particular. It was this. Okay, this one was the racial breakdown was it was a document 8850 from San Francisco. They broke it down, but they went by. The document I provided was it was dated September 24th, 2019. It was a PUC ethnicity by class. Now this was blacked out. Certain classification, job classification was blacked out, and I don't understand why you blacking out the classification, because it doesn't have no one's name. It's not private. So they blocked out certain classifications, which I provided to the committee last week as supporting documents. That was the document 92419. So I don't know if you have that, received that from the Sunshine Ordinance Task Force, but there's certain documents that I provided just to give you a leg up about which document I have issues with, and at the same time it correlates to the Sunshine Ordinance request that I was asking for. And I don't know if I can show it let me see if I can bring it up here.
I'm not going to be able to display it from your computer to our
No?
screens.
Okay, I just wanted to see if it doesn't work, but if it doesn't, then no. Well, it does partial, but yeah, it's kind of. But yeah, I have the actual document itself to make it easier for y'all. I know. Say what? Okay, let me go get. Okay, here's one.
We'll just zoom, because it looks like it's zoomed in.
Yeah, let me go blow it up. And so this is, if you can see this one, this
Yep.
is the document.
Yes.
Sorry. You see
You
how
can
they
see it.
black? You see it?
Yeah.
So, okay. See how they blacked some of these positions out?
Right.
And this is based off of race? Now, I don't understand the reason for them blocking out the job itself, because this is not violation, or it's not cause any harm to find out the name of it. I'm not asking for that. So this is an example of what I was talking about. And I got more examples I can show you, but
Did they give you any reason for why they redacted those items?
I don't know. I went back and forth with the city attorney and the Public Utilities Commission at the same time, and the Public Utilities Commission responded, and I told them that it's still missing. Whoever's the custodial record, which is the public HR, human resources, they haven't responded back to me with the reason why they have, but it's still the same old stuff where it's like protective, whatever, privacy information. I'm like, this is not private. This is something that you can provide, and you blacking out something for whatever reason, I don't know, other than to hide something.
Mm-hmm. Well, yes and no. There could be a very good reason, and it may be that particular information could be protected by some law, but we don't have any record of them citing what that law might be. So,
Gotcha.
We won't make any characterizations.
Okay, I apologize to that.
No, that's fine. You're free to, but for us, we're
okay.
try to be a little circumspect. Member testify.
I mean, they did give a reason. They said that it was personally identifiable information, which isn't true. So he said that they gave him a reason.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but they didn't give us a reason. That's the.
Oh, in their response
Right,
to the
because
file.
we're trying to determine whether it was correct or not.
Do you have a copy of the response that they gave you in the file?
I may have it I don't have it with me right now, but I have it to the email. I mean, I can probably show you that.
Okay, let's stop here for a minute. I want to talk about some other things.
Go for it.
On page 1066 is the response from the city attorney. They don't provide any discussion or information with regards to the redactions. Their defense is the civil litigation this is part of civil litigation and part of discovery with regards to that. And it's a proceeding in federal court, and that court, and not the Sunshine Ordinance Task Force, has jurisdiction over the civil discovery process. And they cite 6721E. So, the question is if whether they're in court or not, if the documents exist and they have custody of the documents, I don't know how that it has no bearing on us. Yeah, go ahead.
Sir,
Yes.
so is there an open discovery dispute on this issue in your court case, and what is the status of it?
Well, the discovery process have closed based on what I recall. It was still open, and we was going back and forth during the meet and confer process, but the deadline, I think it passed.
I mean, did you submit like a motion to compel to the judge to get?
I've been trying to do all that stuff,
Okay.
but because I was representing myself for the time being until the judge who retired appointed me counsel, so that we've been going back and forth with the city attorney's office, and this is where I'm here because some information they provided and some they have not, and so I'm trying to find another avenue to get the information, which was someone told me to go through the Sunshine Ordinance Task Force, and which is the reason why I filed. I wouldn't even be here if I received the information.
Okay, so but what is the status of this specific discovery dispute?
Some of it is complete and some of it is not.
Are you waiting to get a ruling or something from a judge or magistrate on them giving you this information specifically?
Well, according to the judge, I guess the judge was saying that, well, if I recall, it was like, well, you're not going to get all the information. I'm like, well, if I request the information and they're the custodial records, I should be able to ask it because it's pertaining to my case, in terms, especially during the racial breakdown.
And then the judge said?
The judge...
Page 807, the judge says, may request additional time to review defendant's discovery responses and/or seek the court's assistance in compelling further respondents from defendant. She left it open.
So it's still open?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of open. And see,
Okay.
it's different requests. So some is open, some is not.
Okay.
Thank you for that, Mr. Highland.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Do you want me to show you the other documents I was blacked out or no?
Well, I don't know that that's necessary because the question here is whether did they violate the ordinance in their redaction. We'll discuss that after we get through rebuttals. We'll start talking about what violations there may or may not have been. But for now, is there any other clarifications or information that you need at this point, members?
Yeah,
Member Martin?
this is the city attorney case, Mr. Green. So
they're defending the PUC.
Yes.
Right. The file involves the city attorney's office defending the PUC, correct? Who's been your point of contact?
The point of contact, it changes. You have
Most recent point of contact.
Joseph Lake, and I think I have also Kenneth Walzak, but he was the initial attorney on the case going against representing the PUC, and so then he signed himself off. I don't know what happened, and then Joseph Lake got assigned to my case, and then I think someone here, John Cote.
Yeah.
He showed up the last hearing, so those are the people I know.
Yeah, since the last hearing, who's been your point of contact?
That's a good question. I haven't. I just sent the public records to the city attorney portal, and that's what I get. I don't know who controls that. Who's the actual overseer of that portal?
So they sent you documents after the hearing, but you don't know who they're from.
Oh, in terms of who I don't recall the exact. I wasn't looking at the name itself. I was assuming it was Joseph Lake, but I can check and make sure. No.
Okay. Who
I don't
sent you
know.
the two CDs, the last two CDs?
It was, I think it was like a secretary or whatever representing the city attorney's office.
Yeah,
Yes.
here's the thing, you're requesting this information of the entire department, right? You weren't specifically asking for information from a specific person, or did you?
It was the entire department, because what I understand is they have a public records portal. You submit your request, your public records request, and so the city attorney has a portal or email. I just submitted to there saying I'm requesting.
So this was, the difference between making a request to a specific custodian you may think that has the documents versus more like the CPRA kind of request where you're asking it of the agency.
Yeah, now that we're, I think part of the issue at the complaint committee was Mr. Cote was here saying, we've given him these documents via the litigation. This was part of the discovery process. We've given these. He just resubmitted the interrogatories through the Sunshine Ordinance request process, and it's the same stuff.
The same stuff,
Right?
exactly.
That was the argument. And he's saying, no, well, I'm going through the Sunshine Ordinance Task Force, one or Sunshine Ordinance Act or ordinance. One, he was advised to do that.
But it's clear that the purpose of the litigation is not necessarily about the redactions. He has other interests for asking for this information. Is that correct?
It's kind of, it's not just a redaction. It was incomplete. They provided redactions for whatever reason to hide information. I don't know.
Yeah, but did you need those redactions for your case?
Yes, part of it I do, and also for my own knowledge.
Okay.
Like, for example, if I'm applying for a job, I want to know what did I score for the job.
Yeah.
They redacted that portion.
And so, this is a little bit out of our wheelhouse, but why didn't the court demand that?
They did, but the city attorney's office still, it's like a horse and pony show. They keep on dragging.
But the court is, they have far more authority and jurisdiction than we do.
It is, but when I was shocked to see that the judge say, well, you're not going to get all the information. You're going to get partial because of whatever. I was like, well, if it's the system, if I'm requesting it, I should be able to get it. So that was the new judge that said that. Okay. But we've been going back and forth,
Okay.
Mr. Wolf.
All right, is this case still open?
Yes, it's still open.
Still open. Okay. All right.
But I've been asking for. I went to both. Sorry. Yeah.
Okay.
But in terms of what Mr. Martin was saying, I did. Whoever Mr. Martin Wolf, I went through both protocols. I went through the city officials, city attorney's office, in terms of overall, and I also went through like Joseph Lake, who was the overseer of my case. So I went different ways, and that's why I'm here as the last resort.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Anything else, members? All right. Let's move to rebuttals. I don't know if you. Usually the respondent goes first. The respondent is not here, so you're free to for any kind of like closing arguments.
Oh, closing arguments. I guess basically, based on the Sunshine Ordinance Task Force, my thing was to try to get documents. The documents helps me in terms of understanding the situation, let's say how I didn't receive a particular position, to the breakdown of the racial breakdown of people getting jobs in managerial positions, to complaints of discrimination, harassment, and also acronyms that wasn't complete. And so the only thing I just want is the actual information. It's not like it's confidential where it's violating someone else's protective rights. I'm not asking for no one's name. I just want to know my particular, standpoint on certain information that I feel that I deserve because I am the actual person who filed a complaint regarding the situation. And so I'm just asking for records to support my situation. And I was just hoping that the city attorney would be much more helpful in providing simple information, but they have not. They provided me with duplicate information, which comes up to like 9,000 documents. Some information was not even relevant to what I was asking for, particularly my license and my social security information, to other information, and there was a lot of duplicates. And so I just want to get the information I requested and not for certain information to be redacted. And that's where I'm at. So I appreciate y'all listening. And so, thank you.
Thank you.
I'll stay up here.
Hey, you can have a seat if you want. Okay, members.
It's a tough one. There's ongoing litigation. It's just, they should be able to say why they're redacting something, though. I just don't see any reference to like a footnote or a reason why they're redacting certain information and not others.
You know, I find it interesting that there were a few cases and generally some sentiment about, you know, why the IDR actually exists. And a lot of it came from folks that were in the middle of lawsuits that certain information came up during their case, and there was like after discovery, but it was, if they could find it, it would be considered, it would be compelling. So they would do an IDR and, you know, hopefully be able to get it within a reasonable amount of time, you know, that they would have a continuance for. And then they can come back and they could cite that, you know, if they knew that the information was available, or if it was redacted, that when they came here, they would have exercised the local process, and that would have some gravity going back into court. So, you know, we're not supposed to determine what the intent is or why people are doing this, and the fact that it's in court or not, I don't know that it really matters. Tell you the truth, people could not even mention that it's in court, and they're just still asking for public information that should be available under the ordinance. You know, so to me, it's neither here nor there whether they're in court or not. If a person's having difficulties in court and they find that, okay, let me try this venue to see if I can get this information because I'm not getting it through court, why not?
Well, that correct. I mean, I think that, but if it comes back redacted, there shouldn't be a surprise.
Well,
if there's an attorney-client privilege or it's active litigation, there's a specific, you know, exception for that. There's an argument they don't have to release that as long as they cite it.
Well, but you see, that's the problem. The city attorney says that the task force does not have jurisdiction over a civil discovery process.
Yeah, I think that's wrong.
That's what we're doing right here.
Right.
It's administrative, but still, it's similar.
Right.
Even though there's ongoing litigation, that has no bearing on us.
Well, if they cite it as I forget the exact provision of the ordinance, but I think it says if there is
they cite
active litigation, then that is at least a colorable reason to say or to assert that we're not going to release this information at this time. It's part of ongoing litigation and we're exposed.
That's different. Okay, that's a different question. So they can cite that, but that's not what they are citing here. They're saying Mr. Green is current. So I'm reading on page 1066. Mr. Green is currently in litigation with the PUC, which is being defended by the city attorney. Through the civil discovery process in that case, Mr. Green has submitted various document requests and interrogatories to the PUC. The PUC has timely responded to these requests, including producing nearly 9,000 pages of documents. Neither the city attorney or the PUC have received a public records request from Mr. Green.
Right, so I think that, and that was the wrinkle. So what happened at the complaint committee was Mr. Cote said, well, fine, we'll just respond now. And they pretty much served the same documents as they served through his interrogatory. I think what's problematic here is Mr. Cote's not here and there was no response.
Well, let's ask Mr. Green. Let me ask you, Mr. Green, is that correct? That you didn't make a request to the city attorney directly? Or the PUC? You said that you used the next request system.
I see by the civil process, I went through discovery. So that I assuming that's part of the making a request.
And not for here.
Not for here. So And so when I came here for the first hearing to try to, the first hearing was in September or so. That's where they mentioned that, well, you never submitted a public records request. I said, well, isn't it a public record? By me going through the legal process, a civil case, isn't that considered a public records request? I mean, that's why I thought. So then they said, well, you got to submit it. So I submitted to both the PUC and also Public Utilities Commission and also for City Attorney's Office.
Yeah, but which venue?
Here.
No. This is the complaint process. You made a request, you're making a request of either the city attorney or the PUC.
I did both. I did everything.
Yeah, okay.
Sorry,
Remember
Mr.
that.
Yankee.
Maybe I can help try to clarify. So I was at the complaint committee.
Yeah, he was Mr. Yankee, Mr.
He
Mark.
came to the complaint committee and basically wanted to present his case to argue some of these redactions. And the city attorney said, well, the documents that he's arguing the redactions from are ones that he is obtained through the discovery process. And we said, well, we can't help you if that's the venue that you obtain them. So he made then, it sounds like a subsequent request, it's basically the same documents, but did it through the Sunshine Ordinance. Got the same documents, I think you were talking about, you got,
Yes.
2 weeks ago. Got the same documents, so instead of going through the court process, we're now looking at it through the Sunshine Ordinance process. And so I think his, contentions about the redactions are the same, but now he followed the correct process. And so whether or not I think there's a legal case pending, I don't think we have to, unless you're.
But they're claiming that he never made a request.
When is that dated, though?
This is dated September 17th.
Yes, we met in December.
Yeah, we met. That's the first hearing.
That's their response to the complaint committee.
Okay.
He subsequently made a Sunshine request. Now he has them to the Sunshine request. So I think that argument from the city attorney is no longer valid. for this case.
Yeah, we had another hearing December 17th of 2019. Thank you for that. So it's 2 meetings.
So really, the city attorney did not respond at all for this case.
Well, it sounds like you did get them through the Sunshine.
It's the same thing. So they basically
Were they
didn't
there?
respond.
But Mr. Cote was there?
He was there for the complaint.
I see.
He was
Okay.
there then. And they,
Okay.
yeah.
So they just didn't provide anything in
Right, and he
writing.
said basically,
Okay.
well, I'm going to give you the same documents. And we said, well, but for us to be able to help with this, we can't be looking at the documents you gave him through discovery. We have to look at the documents you gave him through a Sunshine request.
Got
So
it. Okay.
that's not
Yeah,
what we're looking at
it
here.
was annoying.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
thank
right,
you.
Thank you for that clarification.
Thank you for
All
clarifying.
right, so, thank you. What shall we do?
But that being said, assuming, so the ones you gave Cheryl, and I'm looking at like, for example, page
Go for
742.
742. 742.
I think these are copies of some of what you put
Yeah.
on your display. These are ones you received through,
742. I'm sorry, 742. I don't know.
it's
740.
on the bottom of the
On the page.
PDF file that's part of your packet.
I'm sorry, I'm not catching the 742
There's a
document.
page number at the
Look at the
bottom
bottom
of the
PDF.
page.
Oh, you have it. Oh, okay. Thank you. I didn't see they had the whole. Thank you so much, Victor. Yes.
Okay, so that's what you received in response to your Sunshine request.
Yeah, it's the same document. Correct. Thank you.
So for example, on this one, this seems to be some type of job pool characteristics thing. So I would look under 6724
67.
of the Sunshine Ordinance. And so I, for example, am looking here and it looks like they redacted the age column. But if you look under 6724C, personnel information, it says none of the following shall be exempt from disclosure. Subsection 1.1 says sex, age, and ethnicity group. I'm looking at the Sunshine Ordinance now. And so, for example, I don't know why they would have redacted age.
Well, but.
And then,
Yeah, sorry.
and then it seems a little inconsistent too, because for example, on page 741, I see things like, disposition and status. They're clearly there. But 2 pages later, on 743, suddenly the disposition column is redacted.
Exactly.
So it seems, I'm not seeing reasons for a lot of these redactions. And so
Same here.
I do have concerns about
Like
some of the
multiple people were looking at different things.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't know. It looks like sometimes it's redacted, sometimes it's not. Some things are
Right.
redacted that's clearly in the Sunshine Ordinance says it should not be redacted, so.
Well, those items that are redacted are for the job classifications, for the ethnicity breakdown by class. Okay, those are clearly, they are in exact alignment to the job classification, versus the ones on in the page 740s, which is redacted the entire column.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's clearly some interesting.
Yeah.
See, what's interesting to me is what's on page, like, starting on page 752, that's part of the civil service, job classification.
Yeah.
That stuff, I think, is already publicly available,
Exactly.
even with unredacted.
Yeah,
Anyway.
I mean, I don't see any.
I don't
it
see
says
any-
You have to say, for example, sex, age, and ethnic group are
Right.
not redactable. So
Right.
to see redactions under those columns, to me, seems like it's a violation of.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. Appreciate
Okay,
it.
so what's the dispensation here? What are we doing? Is there a motion?
Well, I would, I'd move that the redactions were inappropriate under, I guess, 6724C, which
Is that it?
Sure, I'll start with that unless.
Okay.
someone wants to-
Is there a second?
I'll second.
So moved by member Yankee, second by member Martin. Any discussion, debate? Hearing none, is there any public comment other than the parties? Seeing no public for comment at this point, we ready for a vote? Okay, please call roll.
On the motion, find a violation of 67.24C for inappropriate redactions. On that motion, member Yankee.
Aye.
Yankee, aye. Member Martin.
Aye.
Martin, aye. Vice Chair Josh Wolf.
Aye.
Wolf, aye. Member Highland.
Aye.
Highland, aye. Member Hensy.
Aye.
Hensy, aye. Member LaHood.
Aye.
LaHood, aye. Member Tesfa.
Aye.
Tesfa, aye. Chair Wolf.
Aye.
Wolf, aye. The motion passes.
Okay, thank you. All right, let's call next item.
Item number 8, file number 19085, complaint filed by Mo Green against the Public Utilities Commission for allegedly violating Administrative Code, Section 67.21 and 67.25, by failing to respond to a request for documents in timely and/or complete manner.
Okay, is the representative from the PUC here? Okay, great, thank you. Okay, Member Martin? Is this you? No, compliance amendments.
So this says compliance and amendments. The number doesn't actually appear, and there was a note saying that this had been consolidated with a different one. I think remember when we approved a whole slate of them at that meeting for jurisdiction?
Oh,
I
yeah.
think this was one of those numbers, but the numbers don't match up because somehow it was merged with no.
I found in the same, it's the same complaint committee, because here's the.
Oh, so it's complaint, so it's
Yeah,
not
it was the
compliance and
Same
amendments.
meeting as the prior one.
Okay,
complaint.
that's why I don't
So
know.
it's a typo in the agenda, okay.
Do we need to correct the typo in the agenda?
We
Or just, or note in the minutes?
Let's just
that-
note in the minutes that it's incorrect in the agenda. It's a notation in the agenda anyway, so, no problem. Okay. Member Martin or Member Yankee, or anybody else who was on the complaint committee at the time for this one?
Well, I'll start, and Member Yankee can fill in if he feels appropriate. Similar. So it's a request for the records. I think it was made upon Public Utilities. It's a lot of records. They said they needed to get them. I think this one is more of a timeliness issue as well. But yeah, I don't know, Member Yankees or anything.
Yeah, I think if I recall, this one was more of, it was a very large request, and the department was taking their time to comply, so maybe we can get an update on that.
Was this an IDR?
I don't recall, I don't think it was.
Didn't mention it in the memorandum, so just, all right, well, we'll find out. Okay, you ready? All right, let's start the clock. Mr. Green, you have 5 minutes.
Okay, everyone, ladies and gentlemen, it's just pretty much is a similar complaint that I filed for the city attorney in file number 19084. I filed the same thing with the Public Utilities Commission regarding because they're the custodian who holds this information. Well, they partially hold the information, particularly in regards to the hiring process, who gets hired for a managerial position, the racial breakdown, the scoring, and who gets jobs and stuff like that. So I submitted that similar request that I submitted to the city attorney's office also onto the actual Public Utilities Commission. And I got the same, I received some information from the person by the name of Michelle D. Peters, but I responded to her saying that some of the information is incomplete. She sent me an email, so I asked her, well, to make it easier for her, she requested to get my number so she can contact me. I said, well, let me look at the documents because there's a lot of documents that I want to cover, and that I just give me your availability so we can kind of like streamline what I need. And basically, I'm just trying to make it easy for them. And so what I mentioned before in the other file is similar to this one. If I don't know for Victor if he can provide the little. Can you put this so I can show it on the machine, please?
Overhead.
Thank you. Overhead. So I didn't know you had this on here, but I just want to show you examples of what I'm saying. So in terms of my complaints, I had at least around 41 sunshine ordinance requests, and I wasn't looking for every. I was trying to see what I was going to get from this. But in terms of, let's say, item number 41, I have here. I asked for. Let me see if I can. This is kind of small, but like, anyway, I don't know if I can take this out. But for example, I asked for particular complaints against certain individuals in management, and they only provide me a few information. But in terms of the email, I found through the city attorney's office corresponding with PUC, they mentioned Mr. Craig Banks, but they never provided me with a formal complaint, of EEOC complaint, in terms of documents that I requested. And so I asked for a bunch of requests for like complaints and EOC charges, and you have it. And I only got one from Mr. Dolores Johnson. Not only that, I also, in item number 40 itself, I was asking for what these acronyms in part of the spreadsheet that they provided. What does this mean? Like PC, I don't know what that means. And also number 39, item number 39, they had a section about accept and reject. In the I'll show you the actual document. But so the accept to reject, it was actually missing it was redacted from my actual complaint. So as you can see here, which I think I showed on my computer, this whole information is redacted. I don't want everyone else's information. Only thing I just want to know, why was my application not pushed forward for the interview process? Because I felt I was qualified. I had experience in dealing with wastewater management. I worked in there for 5 years, and here I don't even get an interview. But people who receive interviews didn't even have the experience. So I feel like it was something was going on, some bias going on, some favoritism, but I felt it was unfair, and I was being mistreated. Not just myself, but other people of color. Another document that I wanted to share, I think y'all saw this about the classifications being blacked out. I don't even know why they blacking this stuff out. There's nobody's name, nobody's personal information in here, and so forth. Another position, sorry. I didn't know you had this. This is hold on. Trying to find, I just had the document, so forgive me on this. Okay, this is another one about the classifications. As example, what I was talking about, I gotta pull it out because it's binder. They blacken out this, I don't know if you can see this.
It autofocuses, so you can.
There you go, thank you. So you see right here, these are positions that they blocked out and based off the breakdown, and which is, it doesn't compromise anyone, it's just basically the racial breakdown. And like why you blocked out this area, I don't know. I don't know the information, I don't know the job class, whatever. So I just want, in terms of some clarification from them, and also information that's gonna help me determine about the racial breakdown of certain positions. There was other stuff that I had questions with regarding complaints, hiring, promotion of African American, Native American individuals that they haven't provided to me. And if they did provide it to me, they don't really specify in terms of the racial breakdown who this individual is. What else was also involved? Percentage of African Americans, people who occupy management positions, complaints regarding individuals in management that I wanted information on in terms of the EOC or whatever that's dealing with harassment, discrimination, retaliation, and some other records that I mentioned before in the other hearings. So I'm just trying to get the information. I feel that they're being invasive and they're taking their time to provide me the information. Okay. They asked for an extension of, I think it was 14 days, which they granted themselves. They never really confirmed me, can we have it or not? And so they used that time, and the time that they provided, the information they gave me was still incomplete. And so I'm here again for the same thing.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Green. Are there any persons or witnesses providing any facts or evidence on behalf of the petitioner? Seeing none, respondent, PUC.
Let me move over. Get out of here. Thank you.
Good evening, Honorable Chair, Vice Chair, and members of the Task Force Committee. My name is Cassini Yip. I'm the Deputy Director of Communications at the PUC. What I'd like to do is just quickly overview here the timeline. You also have this in the form of a letter from February 25th. But I'll do a cursory overview, and then we can get into areas that you think might be most helpful. That's okay. On September 12th, 2019, the PUC was named as a respondent, and we did not have it. However, we did not have any records of a sunshine request, so we let the task force know, and let Mr. Green know. On October 23rd, the PUC received a public records request with 40 interrogatories, essentially more detailed requests. And as a result, the PUC sent hundreds of responsive documents through several file share links. It was so voluminous, you sometimes need to break it out so that it can go through the system. So we did do that. And from that time on through today, there were 3 requests from Mr. Green, and we responded each time. We've appeared twice to the Complaints Committee here, and we've worked diligently to respond to each and every request, and we'll continue to do so. So with that, I'm more than happy to go through point by point the timeline. If that would be helpful. You can also refer to this in the letter that was sent via email to you.
Page 1366.
So September 12th, letter from SOTF Sunshine Ordinance Task Force naming the PUC as a respondent, instructs the PUC to submit a written response in 5 business days. September 18th, PUC responds with a letter to Task Force stating that the PUC had not received an official public records request. October 15th was the Complaint Committee hearing. PUC reiterated that it had not received a public records request from the requester. On the 23rd of October, the PUC received a public records request, including the 40 interrogatories. I have those here if at any time you'd like to see, but but I presume they're already in the files, right? October 31st, PUC receives another public records request from the requester focused on what we've been talking about, the employee records and information. November 5th, PUC invokes an extension citing the voluminous nature and needing to confer with HR and to work on redactions. On the 18th of November, PUC emails 118 responsive documents. And we note that the requester asked for explanation as to why there are redactions and for the copies that were not redacted copies, what the rationale is, and asked for a resume of Tommy Moala, not Thomas Moala. We since provided the correct, that was a, oversight there, Tommy versus Thomas. And at that time, invited the respondent to let us know that if there's records that were still missing, do let us know. And it was in a couple of different responses where we talk about the rationale of why certain records were withheld or redacted. Indeed, citing 67.1 and EEO and EEOC related concerns. And then on the 20th of November, we emailed Tommy Wallace's resume, and we had a complaint committee hearing on December 17th, and that brings us here today. I can provide a little bit more by reviewing the different codes that were cited as reasons with redacting and withholding certain records. I don't know if that's helpful from the text of previous correspondence. For example, on November 18th, we said to Mr. Green that the PUC redacted and withheld certain records because information is exempt from disclosure under the privacy, personnel, and testing exemptions in the California Public Records Act. And the what's cited here as the rationale for withholding information is the California Constitution, Article 1, Section 1, and the California Government Code, Section 6254, Subdivision C and K. These provisions guard against disclosure of information that would invade personal privacy. And then the California Public Records Act, California Government Code 6250, and the San Francisco Sunshine Ordinance, Code 67.1G, acknowledge importance of protecting privacy when disclosing records in response to a public records request. Further, we're citing California Constitutional Right of Privacy, Article 1, Hill versus National Collegiate Athletic Association. We have Teamsters Local 856 versus Priceless, LLC. And this talking about how public employees have a right to privacy in their personnel files, to protect against unwarranted invasion of personal privacy under state law. And then citing California Government Code 6454C, protecting personnel, medical, or similar files, the disclosure of which could constitute an unwarranted invasion of personal privacy. 6254K, protecting records which are exempted or prohibited pursuant to provisions of federal or state law from disclosure. And 67.1G. Also withholding exempt for disclosure certain interview records, such as evaluation score sheets, interview notes, because they contain confidential personnel information, and because the interview portion of the civil service hiring process is considered part of the testing process in the PUC and thus exempt from disclosure under California Government Code 6254. Yeah, I'm looking for the various codes here to highlight.
Please wrap it up. Please wrap it up.
Oh, okay. Thank you. In short, we've worked diligently to respond to the voluminous nature of these requests with some of these redactions. For various classifications, if a certain classification has a very, very small number of staff, that might raise a reason for redaction in order to ensure the protection of privacy. But in short, we've worked hard and diligently to respond, and will continue to do so. And and would be more than happy to provide additional information if you'd like.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there any persons or witnesses to provide any facts or evidence on behalf of the respondent? Seeing none, members? All right, I'll start the ball rolling here. Ms. Yip, while you're still standing there. So you rattled off a bunch of legal citations, including some case law. But the Sunshine Ordinance requires that there be a citation for every single redaction that is made. Do you have a list, a punch list of that? It can't be just a blanket, unless it's like an investigative file, like a police file. So the whole thing would be exempt because the whole file is part of an ongoing case. Okay? Here, that's not the case here. And so the requirements, if some areas are going to be redacted, but not other areas on the same document that looks pretty similar, there has to be a compelling reason cited by law for each and every redaction that is made. Do you have that?
I do not have that.
Okay, I did not see it in the records at all. I also noticed that based upon your testimony of the chronology, I'm looking at page 1366, a memorandum from Michelle Peters, the Public Records Coordinator for the SPUC. She didn't cite anything about October 15th. And she says that there were 122 documents that were responsive, not 118. So I'm just wondering what the discrepancy is there.
And this is the date that you,
This is February 25th, 2020.
oh, okay.
Letter from your office.
Yes. So you're saying there's a discrepancy between February 25th and,
Well, you
Yeah.
said, you just said, when you rattled off
Right.
this whole list, you said that there was an October 15th activity. That's not in here. So I'm just wondering what what happened on October 15th.
oh, complaint committee hearing. We appeared.
Okay. And so you were, when Mr. Green had originally contacted you, there was no sunshine request. You're stating there was no sunshine request on file?
There was
From
no
him?
sunshine request on file of him at the time we received the letter from the task force saying we need to respond. We went back, we looked, we didn't see a request.
You didn't see a request?
Right.
And when did, and what was the date that you received the request?
The date we received the request was October, October 23rd.
Okay.
Yes.
Let's stop there for a second. I just want to check in with Mr. Green. If you just step aside for a second.
Yep.
Mr. Green? So is that correct on the chronology that when you filed a complaint with us that you had not made, had you made a request? Let me ask it to you this way. Had you made a request how did you make any request at all prior to October 23rd?
I did. So that's the thing.
How did you do that?
I went through the city attorney's office, and they go and speak to the PUC in order to obtain the records. So whether it be Joseph Lake, I send it to him.
So you didn't make a direct sunshine request to the PUC?
Not at that time. See, this was the confusing part. So me dealing with the city attorney's office, they go through the Public Utilities Commission in order to get that information I'm requesting. So I thought
Because of the lawsuit?
Because of the lawsuit. So they was dealing with PUC, Public Utilities Commission, PUC. So they deal with them because they're the custodial record. So what I thought, since this is my first time dealing with this stuff, I thought that was satisfied the initial public records. But till when I came to the hearing on the day, I forgot what day it was.
October 15th.
I think that was the first one.
Yeah.
It was October 15th. Then that's when Mr. Martin and Mr. Yankee advised me to make a public records, a formal one through the actual email system. And so subsequently I did that through both the city attorney's office and the PUC.
Okay, stop there. So let me ask Member Yankee and Member Martin, when you gave him that advice,
Wolf.
did you leave the case open, or did you ask him to refile if there was a violation after he made a formal request?
Left open.
I believe it was to refile.
No, it was left open.
It was left open.
Oh,
Left open.
It was left open? Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. I think that's all the questions I have right now. Anybody else? All right, should we move to rebuttals? Okay, Ms. Yip, your first 3 minutes for any rebuttals.
I just wanted to use this opportunity to add that in our November 18th correspondence with the requester, Mr. Green, we did invite him to let us know what was still missing and have not heard since that time. And then on the need to have a citation to back up or attach to each redaction. It has been a little while since I've looked through what was shared through the file share. I can go back and see. I don't know off the top of my head with certainty, one way or another, standing here before you. That's all I have.
Okay, great. Okay. Okay, thank you. Mr. Green, you have 3 minutes for rebuttal.
Yes, as this, I forgot her name, the deputy communications, she's saying that they never received a response. Well, I have a proof of an email that I went through Miss Michelle Peters, saying that the response that they submitted was not fulfilled and was insufficient. And subsequently, I also submitted something on November 20th, 2019, stating that to whom it may concern, I received this response from Public Utilities Commission, San Francisco. A lot of the information pertaining to my sunshine ordinance request is still missing. So what do I do? And that was, they sent the email on November 20th regarding sending me the wrong resume, and which was pertaining to Tommy Mwala. I gave him the right information on the individual, but they gave me his son's information, which he was his truck driver. But Tommy was the AGM, Assistant General Manager of Wastewater, who no longer works there, and they subsequently gave me the information. And then on February 26, 2020, after I submitted my, you had to submit your supporting documents, 5 days before the actual hearing, which is now. I corresponded with Michelle Peters, and so I asked her for a time available where we can discuss, so we can streamline what I was requesting. But she never responded, and I did it again recently on February 26, 2020. I said, "Hi, Michelle. I did respond to you with additional requests that wasn't fulfilled, and the responses were insufficient from the list of requests I provided to the public records last year. And I wanted to know when you have availability to discuss, and you didn't reply to the most recent email below regarding the availability." And I got the email chain, and it has Michelle D. Peters in there. So whatever this the deputy director stated previously, it was incorrect. I did respond to saying that stuff was incomplete, but I never received a follow up from the I guess she's the records keeper. But she said in the email on November 19th, just a bit of clarity. I don't collect the document. I just ensure that you receive what you request. I will forward this to the custodian ASAP, which is HR. And so I have responded, and so the documents overall is incomplete, similar to what I received from city attorney's office. They redact the information to me that doesn't violate any type of protective information on anyone else. I'm not asking for people's information. I'm just asking for information that's pertaining to my situation, whether it be why I was rejected, for example, why I was rejected for not receiving the job, accepted and rejected in terms of the rating system, pertaining to myself, not anyone else, but just myself. And they haven't provided that to me. Breakdown of the racial breakdown, who gets hired for managerial positions, and they, as you see, they redact a lot of the information.
Thank you, Mr. Green.
Sorry, thank you.
That's all right. I just have one additional clarification from Ms. Yip, if you don't mind. So on the spreadsheets that Mr. Green has submitted into the record and has been showing us today, you know, it's interesting to me. We've had cases around civil service before for asking for certain information. We've never seen redactions like this before. And so do you have any information? Do you know why they were redacted the way they were?
I will have to get back to you. I don't have further information at this time.
I mean, you know, it just showing the job classification. It's not even showing salary. It's showing, you know, like the racial breakdown for who is in that position at that particular time. I mean, it goes back to, you know, you're citing the various citations of law and case law, you know, which one applies to this one? And it makes it, otherwise we can't consider it. There's nothing for us to consider. It can't be a blanket statement. That's I'm pretty concerned about that. It seems incorrect to me that the redactions that were made, you know, some of it wholesale, seems a little odd. So I can see, like, for instance, on page 1137, okay, last name, first name, middle initial, date of birth, and date of birth month, and date of birth day. Okay, I can see that being redacted, except for Mr. Morris, because that applies to him. Okay, but then there's the disposition and status part. What is that? No explanation or reason, you know, under what section of law is that protected? And his subsequent testimony that he's been referred by Ms. Peters to HR. You know, HR is, have you had any correspondence with HR about why these were redacted?
I would like to take the opportunity to say, when I said we didn't receive it, it may not have been received in the public records box. I don't go to Michelle Peters' emails. There is possibility that Mr. Green would have spoken with Michelle. Okay. So I may have misspoken, or I need to clarify. That's based on my view of public records.
Whoever shows up as the representative, we may not, we don't assume that you have all the answers, but have knowledge of what's happening. So if there is some, you know, areas that you're not familiar with and all that, fine. But it's, we hope that you come with as much as you can and that you appropriately are citing the law to what you're withholding. So again, I'll give another example on page 1129. You have management classification by ethnicity. So it has a job class, manager 1 through 6, and then there's redactions. And it redacts the actual number of what the demographic is. No reason. And that seems very odd on the same page that those classifications are. Obviously, what's underneath 0941 is more classifications. Why would those be redacted? Did anybody inform you or provide you with any information as to why?
Just citing privacy and citing size of number of people within the classification.
But why would you want to withhold that? What's the purpose of withholding that? That's the questions that we have to ask.
So,
okay.
certainly will take this back to the
Okay.
appropriate parties. And can you repeat the name, the page number that was on again?
So that one was on page, and there are numerous other
Sure.
examples. 1129,
Okay.
and the other one starts on page 1133. And Mr. Green has provided a bunch of others. There's another one that starts on page 1114. That's even more extensive. Then there are others. You can just, rifle through this. 1101 is another one. It's interesting on that one because here it lists, instead of last name, first name, it says interviewed candidate 10 as a redaction. Somebody went to the trouble to actually write in there, interviewed candidate 10. Underneath it is interviewed candidate 3. And for the next 3, it's just completely redacted. That doesn't make sense. It really is. It just is. I don't know. Just seems a little very odd to me. And so if you do have an HR regulation and it's based upon some sort of state labor law, or maybe even Homeland Security. We've had PUC in here citing Homeland Security for any number of reasons. That would have been good. It would have given us something at least to talk about. So, okay, that's all I have. Anybody else? Yeah,
I think these are essentially the same records we looked at the prior one, and so I think essentially our ruling would be the same as the last one that had to do with the city attorney.
Right. The only difference here is I'm a little concerned by which way that this file made it into a committee without a request that was initiated. The initiation of a request was made after the committee hearing. And the committee,
It looks like they were both that way, because there was 2 complaint committee meetings it went to, it looks like.
Right.
One in October, one in December, and it looks like the October one, they continued it. I wasn't at that one, but it looks like it was continued so that it could be a public request could be filed.
right, but you wouldn't, if there wasn't a request on file, then there's nothing for the ordinance to respond to, for the task force to respond to. Because you're basing, consideration of a violation of what? There's no there yet. It has to be a request in process, or in a completed process of some, or in a pipeline of some sort. That's what's confusing me about this. I'm a little concerned about.
Right, so it looks like
that.
both the prior one we just dealt with and this one, you were at both of them, I think, but I was just at the second, but it looks like it had to do with the court case one, and where Mr. Green came and had the interrogatories from the discovery process, and thought that he could then apply a sunshine type of provision
Okay.
to it, and so it looks like it was referred, like you have to
All right.
actually make a request.
All right, look, it's hard to dispense with this because what we have here is there was a request at some subsequent time before it came here, okay? So it was part of an intake process. There is obviously some violations here. But I will state for the record that either of the parties have depending upon whatever the outcome of our decision here today is, we do have a reconsideration process when 30 days after the order of determination, if there is one, or there will be one, either way, to have it reconsidered. Okay, and I will hold this up based upon, without the new or compelling information because of the way this made it into our system. I think it was jump the gun. It was too soon. So, so with that, I'll entertain a motion.
I'd make the same motion that we made on the prior one because they're essentially the same. So that would be finding a violation under 6724C.
Okay.
I'll second that.
So moved by Member Yankee, second by Member Martin. Is there any public comment? No public? Any further debate on the motion, members? Seeing none? Okay, call roll, please.
On that motion, Member Yankee.
Aye.
Yankee, aye. Member Martin.
Aye.
Martin, aye. Member Highland.
Aye.
Highland, aye. Member Hensy.
Aye.
Hensy, aye. Member LaHood.
Aye.
LaHood, aye. Member Tesfa.
Aye.
Tesfa, aye. Vice Chair Josh Wolf.
Aye.
Wolf, aye. Chair Wolf.
Aye.
Wolf, aye. The motion passes.
Okay, thank you. Please call next item.
Item number 9, reports from Sunshine Ordinance Task Force committees.
Complaint committee, anything?
Yeah, I mean, this last month, we didn't have a quorum, so we couldn't have the meeting. So we're gonna pretty much hear that agenda this month,
Okay.
March, which is on St. Patrick's Day.
Complaints and amendments?
We heard a different complaint from Mr. Malloy regarding University of California Regents. We again tackled the Shane Andrews versus the Public Defender's Office and have requested additional information from our, we have some legal questions that we would like answered before we proceed. And it's complicated, and I think we need to give it this amount of attention just because it's complicated. We also had a complaint from Paul Vanderwoord against the Department of Homelessness and Supportive Housing, and found that task force has jurisdiction and recommended it for a full hearing. And that was pretty much it.
Okay. EOT hasn't met. Okay. Rules?
We haven't met yet. We haven't met in a while. We do have a few items, I believe, but I'll connect with Cheryl.
Okay. All right, thank you. And IT has not met. Okay, great. Okay, any public comment on committee reports? Seeing none? Okay, let's move on. Chair's report has already been done. Staff report?
Item 11, staff report, complaints and communications. First on the item is tentative hearing schedule for, it should be 2020-21. We have a March 17th complaint committee meeting. I'd just like to get confirmation of who will be attending that meeting. We have Chair Martin, I assume.
I'll be there.
I was wondering what other 2 members would be able to attend that meeting.
What time does the meeting start?
It's a 5:30 start.
I can be there.
Is there a third who would be able to fill in? That would be March 17th, 2020 at 5:30.
I
That
can
would
do
be a
it.
Tuesday.
I can do that.
Okay, Member Highland. The next
As long as
CAC
there's green beer, I'll come.
the next CAC meeting was March 24th. We have our regular mornings. I believe it's Member LaHood,
Oh,
Member Hensy, or you?
can I do the complaint meeting instead for somebody? What time does it start? Cause
That's a 4:30 start.
I now have it's always the third Monday.
It's a Tuesday.
Oh, Tuesday. Okay, okay, I'm good.
And I don't recall the third member of this committee.
Me.
Member Bruce Wolf. Thank you. I just wanted to confirm. The next SOTF meeting is on April 1st. We have quite
Is that for real?
Very good. It is. It is for real.
we received quite a few new complaints this last month. A lot of them are similar issues for various departments. As you can see, we have 2 pages of new complaints that have been submitted.
Yeah, let me just say something about that. I'm going to request a meeting with the petitioner on that to see how to move that all forward, because it'll take over a year, based upon our current rules, for him to hear that person, that anonymous. It's anonymous, that to be able to hear it. So, gonna have to figure out something, what to do. Whether maybe he can take some to ethics, or get it done over there, or take it to court, or somehow bulk them up together.
Question.
Hold on a second. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Is that based on our rules of 2 items per meeting? I mean,
By the same petitioner.
Anonymous is probably listening, and I probably shouldn't say this, but how do we actually know that Anonymous is the same Anonymous each time?
Because I've asked Cheryl to code each anonymous individually, so we know which ones are coming. They're coming from the same.
So our process is really more of a pseudonymous
That's
than
right.
an anonymous. Okay.
Yeah. Well, at this point, it is because we've had multiple anonymouses.
And then Mr. Anonymous has submitted 1 complaint against 10 or 12 departments. Each one of those get a separate file number.
And I guess Anonymous is using the same email for each of the
That's right.
complaints, so we know that it's the same
But
identity.
even if they weren't, the question is we just need to know that it's which ones are for that particular entity, that persona.
Yeah, I understand. I'm just
Yeah, I know.
the line between anonymity and pseudonymity is a weird gray space.
I know, but I know the issues is that where they are, because otherwise we'll just clump them all together, and then they'll say, oh, well, that's not my case. Well, whose case is it? Which anonymous is it? You end up with issues like that. So we either take it on a case by case basis, but when we're getting bulk and they're all coming from the same email address, we know it's from that entity, that persona. So it's just going to have to meet with them and see what if we can work something out. Continue.
And then in terms of communications, we do have several communications for your review in which several parties asked for our actions on certain issues. I leave that for your review and action at your discretion.
Okay. Great. And anything for the administrator at this point? Just also remember that this is an appointment year. So if you're looking to get reappointed, or if you know people that want to be appointed, we have seats open. And we're still waiting for the city attorney to approve the language from Supervisor Peskin's office to transfer the appointment process, the nominating, I'm tired, nominating appointment from the New American Media to cite professional journalists in Northern California. So I'll be putting in another inquiry about that also. Anything else?
That completes the agenda.
Okay, well, no, we still have one more.
Announcements, comments, questions, and future agenda items by members of the task force. Item
Just
12.
Note for the record, there's no public here for public comment, and there's no action on the previous item. Let's return back to the discussion we were having regarding legal counsel and legal advice. Is there, anybody have any ideas?
Just
Yeah,
a thought, because
maybe
we
I can-
kind of But, I mean,
While we
exactly-
have him here.
Yeah, not exactly to that, but just 'cause I think we kind of ran into this issue in one of these cases here. If we can't even have the memo, but would be super helpful, I think if we could at least have the actual complaint, originally the initial, sunshine request, because we had that situation with the next request, we were searching for it. And at least we have that like on the first page, at least we can open it up and know exactly what it is we're looking at. I think we run into several of these where we're searching through, 200 pages of PDF trying to figure out what the actual request even is.
Yeah, I have requested, I've gone through with both Victor and Cheryl on the order of what needs to be in order. So the intake form for the complaint, then the actual request that starts the ball rolling, then the memorandum with the background information. Because if you don't have enough time to read through the agenda, if you just read those, you'll have plenty of information.
And in
to-
in that one case we had, I don't even think we had the actual initial request, or initial sunshine request.
Right, that's
So,
why I was.
Yeah, so I think if we, absent the memo, I think we absolutely need that before we get the file, because without that, we're kind of lost.
Yeah, considering that you guys had already pushed it through, but normally we would probably reject it, and because it doesn't even trigger us. If there's-
This was the earlier one. with
Oh, okay.
in the-
The early, okay, got it, yeah. Okay, anyway, so, all right. But back to this issue regarding, so our legal counsel is not going to be doing the background information anymore. What is helpful about it is that it ferrets out all the kind of the core details from each of the parties, from the multitude of records that are submitted by both parties, and then at least encapsulates what topic areas in the ordinance it may or may not apply to, versus getting actual legal advice for particular things. Now, I will say that in history, when we first started the task force, we had an attorney that actually did that. He did both the background, and then he gave a full, I like to call it opinion, because that's how it read, but he gave us a pretty detailed idea of what was going on in his analysis of what was going on. And then that stopped after that attorney had retired. And we've not been able to, at least not been able to reactivate that in some way. I'm really thankful to DCA Thorian and Price Wolf, because they kind of made it very clear, kind of give you a little more clarity on how we could activate them better to get the advice that we actually are looking for. So the question now is the process. How do we do that? So if we, in the next 5 minutes, it doesn't sound like anything's bumbling up for anybody, even from maybe the attorneys that are here in the room. I'm open to just leaving the question open, and then having a special meeting with the chairs of the committees and see if we can brainstorm it out, and everybody could be invited. It would be an official meeting.
Just out of curiosity, is there anything in the original charter? I mean, I know it says the city attorney will provide.
You mean in the ordinance?
In the ordinance. I was looking for that.
It just states that the clerk of the board and the city attorney's office shall provide support so that the task force can accomplish their function.
It's that general, is it? Be curious to see that
The
language.
Board of Supervisors and the City Attorney's Office shall provide sufficient staff and resources to allow the Sunshine Task Force to fulfill its duties under this provision.
Pretty broad.
I mean, I'll just state for the record that I don't like this change. I don't have a solution for it, but,
I know.
There, arguably they're giving us less resources, for the record. Definitely. Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, I'm open to
I have a
whatever.
question,
Sure.
and I don't know how their department is organized, but if it seems that this is too much work for an attorney to handle, are there paralegals in the department who could do this work for us?
Possibly, but that requires money, and we are not a budgeted line item in a way.
Well, since the attorneys are doing less hourly work for us, less billing, therefore there's monies available.
This is, yeah. Well, but that's why I said,
Attorneys in the room.
one of the ways, just speaking out loud, to do this is by combining it, is saying we want some legal advice on this particular case. So it does. It kind of requires that our legal counsel review the case and then provide an analysis. So the question then becomes, what is going to be the negotiation for that? Okay, and I can imagine a number of responses from you folks about how what that could be. But we'll have to come up with some kind of way to deal with it. That's why I mentioned this is a budget year. So, and, we generally don't think about it in this kind of way. But I think it's, for the, things have changed in the world with regards to transparency and the kinds of questions people are asking about certain things and what we have experienced as being uncovered. I'm thinking like the museums. First it was the library, now it's the museums. It's like but they're very real issues. I mean, even the case tonight from Mr. Malloy around the UCSF, they keep saying that they don't work, they don't have to respond to anything. They're not part of the city. Well, you have an actual contract that says that they are, so, right. So things are getting, a pretty prime here. So I think it's worthwhile to ask for an expansion of this office. And provide a little more capacity and resources.
I think maybe the way to frame it is to be more forward-looking. And one of the things we've been asking for is a database of past ODs. That would, once in an ideal world, once that is in place, I think maybe even our clerk could look at a case, say, okay, here are the 6, 7, 21, 25. Here are the possible violations. Mirroring what the complainant proposed.
Depending upon who is in the administrator's seat, I wouldn't, unless there's a job description that specifies some experience, some paralegal experience.
And then it'd be nice if
that could do that.
Yeah, I mean, and ultimately have that just match previous cases, so we can go back in there like this is
that I agree.
Similar.
That kind of stuff I agree with.
We're going to get there eventually.
But I think right now, when you look at the workload that one person that has to do for this task force now, it's pretty extensive. It's massive. It is truly full-time work beyond. And then to come after hours and be here and do all the committees and whatnot. So I think it demands some divisional labor at this point, and it would help give folks a break. I mean, some people could do the daytime work, and other person can do the evening work, and they could switch off, however where I think it's worthwhile. I don't think, you're talking a couple $100,000. It's on a $12 billion budget, I don't think it's too much to ask for a public service that the voters, have implemented here.
One of the things we were thinking of asking for is more attorney representation at the complaints committee when we're kind of unpacking some of the stuff.
Sure, ask for more money. I'm sure they'll.
Well, that might be a trade-off. If they're not going to do the memos, can they at least show up to?
But it does. But
I mean, they may not see it that way.
But put it in process, like in real time. What's going to happen during that meeting? You're going to stop the meeting and have an open conversation with legal counsel right there on the spot. Legal counsel is going to say, "Well, I would prefer that be done confidentially," you know, because I'm giving you legal advice. And if for some reason, you know, the advice that's been given doesn't match what's happening in the real world, they don't want to be liable. They don't want to have that show up. So, you know, and
So I guess the subcommittee heads have to phrase
shouldn't
those
say
questions.
in the real world, but I mean out in the public space.
I guess the committee chairs will have to anticipate those questions and maybe have it, you know, be part
Right.
of that checklist that I was hoping to get in place for sure. You know, we need this, 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 and this, and question to DCA here. All of that needs to be
Exactly. Exactly.
ready
It's gonna
before it
demand
goes to full.
that the complaint committee and any other committee hears complaints be a little more cognizant of the issues that are coming before them and what might hang us up here. Like, that would take us to a 9 o'clock or past hour, because the thing that we don't want to do is end up saying, whoa, we can't answer that question. It's a very legal kind of thing that's, you know, it's got to, you know, yeah, it'll create huge delays. And
That means Member Rodman could never leave complaint committee as an attorney. Sorry.
so, there's a lot to think about here. We've touched on a number of different points. Let's just leave this open. If you want to send in some of your suggestions, send it in to the administrator. We'll distribute it to everybody, and at least to me. And if there's enough points there, as they are here tonight, then probably have to hold a number of special meetings, small ones, short ones, you know, just to kind of discuss it through. And I really would appreciate if Mark and Petter could be there to help us, you know, kind of figure all this out, so it works for the best for everybody. Yeah.
If we were to make a budget request or try to get that, what's our deadline for that? Do you-
Actually, probably by the
We've
end of
already been through the process as the clerk of the board has already presented
really?
their budget
You've
to
already-
the Board of Supervisors.
Okay.
And they'll be submitting it to the mayor soon,
Oh, really?
the controller,
Oh, okay.
because we're doing it as a
Oh,
department.
You're doing it as a
And
department.
After we do it as a department, then we have to
right.
submit it to the mayor and the
Oh,
controller.
so the whole Board of Supervisors has, or you're doing as the clerk as a department, or is the Board of Supervisors as a department?
The Board of Supervisors is part of the clerk of the board's office.
Right, so, okay, so you're
We've
doing it all
already
together.
made that presentation and so forth.
Oh, before the Budget Committee, or
Yes.
early? Okay.
Did you ask for a
Yeah,
lot of
they-
money?
Yeah, we talked about this. We knew
They-
this.
Well, yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead, Member Hinsey.
So they they actually pushed it up because apparently there's time now for public to comment on the proposals. So that's why they had to push it up.
There is a new rule in the city and county that each department must have their own hearing on their budget,
Okay,
a public hearing.
got it.
Right, yeah.
And that's a new requirement for all city departments at this time.
Okay, well, we can still ask for an add back.
Mhm.
So we'll do that, we'll do it that way. And a couple of $100,000, you know, that shouldn't really be too heavy a lift, hope. Okay, so I'll do that. Take a note of that, let's see what the process is to do
And
that. I
just-
can add, and I can certainly ask, you know, supervisors at the same time.
And just so you know, we will need to change our rules, procedures, and so forth. As we do have it listed in our procedures that there will be a city attorney memo. So I need to go through there and make adjustments.
Okay. And that's in just the complaint procedure, right?
I need to double check all our guides.
Okay, thanks. All right, anything else, announcements or other items? Nope, okay. No public to comment, no action. Next item, please.
Next item on the agenda is adjournment.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Member Hensy. Is there a second by Member Tesfaye? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you.